I'm saying that you can actually keep it going, then edit the recording, so you actually just cut the long video.
Yeah, I restarted the recording now, so now we just have a second
cool.
video for Roundtable.
Okay. So, when we actually left him...
Well, I was saying, I think top tier right now is 2 characters. It's Zane and Grave.
Yep.
Zane and Grave.
I think Grave is number 1, Zane's number 2. And from then you have a high tier of 5 more characters. And it goes...
And that's what? Minelka, Trock,
in some order. I think it goes... Trock...
DeGray?
Not Trock, I'm sorry. DeGray, Trock, Setsuki, Minelka, Lum.
Oh yeah, you don't put Geiger high.
Setsuki seesaws anywhere from the highest position that I will put her, which is right there, to under Lum.
Okay.
Like she can seesaw between those 3 positions, depending on how you define top tier. Because again, I think Setsuki has a much higher chance of winning a game, winning a set, than winning a tournament. Because she has 70 life and she just dies. I think Minelka effectively has much more life than Setsuki because at the end of the day, he removes your Joker and the game is over much faster. Mm-hmm. It's more turns you have to win with Minelka. The more turns you have to win more turns with Setsuki every time they Joker. And with Minelka, they Joker maybe once.
So, mine is a little bit weirder, right? So I think that the one character we're going to disagree with on the top 7 is I put Geiger roughly where you put Setsuki.
I put Geiger at the top of the next tier.
Okay, so my top I think there's top 3, which is Grave, Zane, Minelka.
I think Geiger, again, depending on your definition, could easily be in there.
Mm-hmm. I think Grave, Zane, Minelka is top 3. I don't think there's as big of a split there. I think Minelka is the highest variance character of those 3, but Deathstrike Dragons is obviously super duper good. Having into Bladed Jokers is super duper good. King into 40
Dragon is probably the second best move in the game.
Behind Maximum Anarchy?
Behind T-Pox.
You put T-Post above, I guess because of the rest.
Hell yes.
T-Pox is unquestionably better than Max Anarchy is.
The 0.4 hardly matters.
As far as cards in this game go, the S tier is Grave Ace and 2 Truths.
Yeah, 2 Truths would be pretty sick. I've already told everyone that if 2 Truths won literally any other character, that character would have to be gutted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, for the rest of my tier list, for the record. So, for the record, the rest of mine. So, I think I think people who put Minelka low are crazy. I think that he's high variance, but his high power hands are, like, ridiculous strong.
Story?
He has, except that his high power hands are stronger than Midori's, I think.
Good thing. People talk about how Midori with a good hand is 11 out of 10.
So, after that, I have a 4-character next, so it's still a top 7, right? But I put Setsuki just under it, which is Trock, Geiger, DeGray, Lum. And then actually I have like a 3-way tie for number 8, which is Setsuki, Valerie, and Persephone.
I think you overrate
Valerie. I don't think I would put Persephone that high, honestly.
Persephone. I put Persephone in bottom 5.
I don't think she's bottom 5, but I definitely think... Well,
do you think
she's
better
absolutely bottom 10.
Do you think she's better than Vendetta, Gwen, and Trock? Or not Trock.
Trock. She's not better.
Do you think she's better than Vendetta, Gwen, Midori?
I don't think Midori's that low.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think she's better than those characters?
No, I'm saying Midori nor Persephone is bottom 5.
I don't think Midori's bottom 5.
I don't think Midori's bottom 5.
I think that Persephone and Midori are similar power.
That's my 6 through 8. I think. I'd have to go through and go down the list and tell you.
Let me dig up my.
Persephone is just such a weird character to evaluate. It's like.
Mine
Let
goes
me dig
down.
up when we did the backroom survey.
Mine goes down the list. Grave number 1, Zane number 2, Tier, DeGray, Trock, Setsuki, Minelka, Lum.
So I'm making a Riker. Okay. Tier.
Geiger, Quince, and then I cannot decide between Valerie and Onimaru, and then Arg. Yeah. And then Arg.
Below Valerie and Onimaru.
Yeah. Under that
tier
is where it gets murky. Yeah, tier. Under that is where it gets murky. And it goes something along the lines of, who am I missing before I forget? Gloria, I think, is... I have Gloria... I know I have Gloria above Midori, who I have above
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're 12 characters placed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 12 characters placed, so there's 8 to go. Gloria Midori. You say Gloria above Midori?
Gloria above Midori. Then Midori. Then I don't know which to put next between. I'm missing somebody, and I don't know who it is.
Rook?
No, I have Rook as the worst character in the game.
Okay, I'll mark that.
The worst character?
Jaina?
Upon further thought, second. Jaina is the only candidate. Jaina is the second. I have the second worst character in the game.
I'll put them tied on this for easy.
Yeah.
So you have Gwen, Vendetta, Robot,
Robot is
Persephone.
the third worst character in the game.
I would almost put Robot as worst character.
I don't think so. I think that he's got too much counterplay because he has Piston Hurricane.
So Gwen, Persephone, Vendetta.
0.4 though.
I have Persephone under. I have Persephone under above BBB. I have Gwen above Persephone and Tyr, and then I have Vendetta above Gwen. I think Gwen could move up a tier. I just depending on the tier decision.
Here's how I have it. So let's just say we'll do it by S tier would be Gravesane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna do pluses or minuses. It's just for sake of readability on my part.
Yeah.
A tier is Graham Trock Setsuki Manelker Lum.
Mm-hmm.
B tier is Geiger Quinn's Valonimaru Arc. C tier is Gloria Midori Vendetta. D tier is Gwen Persephone BB, and then a tie between Rook Jaina.
Yeah, and I think Gwen could easily be in the next tier up. In fact, I would probably put Gwen in the next tier up, but I generally group my bottom 5 because people asked for my bottom 5.
I'll put Gwen in the next tier up. That's fine.
I would put Gwen tier up.
Okay, so I'm putting a bit more thought. The Setsuki Valerie Persephone area I think is where it gets murky, honestly. On mine, I think that
I think Quince could be lower than Valoni, but his recent success is hard to argue with.
For the record, if it wasn't for readability, I would use pluses or minuses because I don't think there's that huge of a power.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
just
Grave and BBB as an example, but obviously it's just for the sake of me being able to read the list better.
I do think S and then A plus is how you would do it, though.
S, A plus, A.
I think we definitely have an S tier where you have somebody that's a clear cut above the rest of the cast.
Who do you think that is?
Gravesane.
Gravesane.
You really think so?
I mean,
well, but
you can
S tier is not necessarily only a clear cut. It's a clear cut, and if you're not picking this character, you're actually playing the game wrong.
So A plus would
I think you are. I think there's no real reason to pick those.
You really think so?
I think that if you're playing at top level, there's no reason to pick someone other than Grave. As far as your decision in winning the game goes, I think Grave is a clear.
100% believe that.
Why would you pick someone that's not Grave? You're going into a match. Why would I not pick Grave?
Because I want to play Quince.
It's bad. Okay. Bruh, I play Roy in Melee, friend. That does not mean that there's a reason to play Roy.
All right. Sorry, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
I don't want to play Grave Mirror, and I think there are characters who can beat Grave.
I think
Onimaru counterpicks your S tier.
I don't think Onimaru really counterpicks Grave.
I have a couple of good reasons for why I wouldn't
Well, he
go to a
options
best
selects your S tier. I'll put it like that. He goes about evenish with Grave and does counterpick Zane.
I would agree with that.
But at the end of the day, if you pick Onimaru, you're opening yourself up to game 2.
Yeah, you
And you're not
really are.
Grave.
I don't think that's a factor when I'm
Stop.
making a tier list. When I make a tier list, I'm looking at power level more than
Then I think you're doing it wrong. If that's the case, then Geiger needs to go down on your tier list.
Yeah.
Geiger has TD and Cycloid Revolution. That's not like I don't know. That's pretty good for me.
Cycloid Revolution is not T-Boss.
It's not. It's still 40 and 0.0.
He also has Gloria and Persephone.
I'm not too worried about Persephone, but I'll grant you Gloria. Even in the 2 games I lost to Hellheart in Summer Smash, in that matchup, I'm not scared of that matchup.
Like that's what I'm saying is when you look at when you look at them and you say I'm not talking about game 2, I'm talking about power level, then you're still looking at game 2 realistically because what you're looking into is no longer the chance of getting counterpicked. You're looking at the chance of just getting stuck in a matchup. You're looking at the chance of running into it. I mean, maybe if a character is less present in the meta, it's not as much of a concern anymore because you don't have a game 2. But realistically, aren't you still discussing the fact that this bad matchup could happen to me?
quick interjection. I am somewhat surprised that Julie beat Lettuce Mode 4-2 in Val Onimaru.
I'm not. I don't think that matchup's that bad.
I think that's hard. I think that matchup's hard for Val.
I can see the.
I think the matchup is king.
Val. I think that matchup's hard for Val, but I also think that matchup is a perfectly winnable. Cause and this is from a Theorycraft standpoint. I've only ever played the Onimaru stuff, but the thing about it is, end of the day, I can't see it being too different from Setsuki, which I think is 4-5-5-5.
Okay, so now that I think about it, so I have my tier list actually constructed, and I thought about it a bit harder. So I'll use S tier, even though I think A+ is more accurate than S. Gravesane, Manelker. Maybe Manelker goes to A+, and then Gravesane slightly above that, but Manelker's good draws put him above both characters. A tier is Trock, Geiger, DeGray, Lum. B tier is a tie between Sets and Val, and then a 4-way tie between Quinn, Onimaru, Arg, Persephone. C tier is Gloria, then Midori, then Rook. D tier is Ven, Robot, Jaina, and then I have Gwen as the worst character in the game.
I think Gwen is not the worst character in the game. I was actually talking about something else with Dan last night. I mentioned we were just talking about the best aces in the game and which character would like to pick up which ace, and it was a fun discussion. But we mentioned that no character would ever want to pick up Gwen's ace because it's a baby DSD.
Yes.
It is Manelker's ace, but worse.
And that's kind of what Gwen runs into, is there's really no reason to play Gwen outside of maybe the Persephone matchup.
You pick Gwen for Persephone, Manelker if you don't want to pick Valor against it, and if you want to, like...
But that's the thing about Persephone is... Persephone, I'm sorry. That's the thing about Gwen is, for most every case where you'd want to pick Gwen is, you want to pick Gwen because you didn't want to pick this character.
And in this case, it's Valerie.
Yeah, Valerie. There's a lot of cases where you don't want to pick Gwen because you want to pick Setsuki. There are even a few cases where you don't want to pick Gwen because you want to pick Jaina. Like BBB.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't pick Gwen because I want to pick Zane.
Gwen's high power level things are so easy to play around is my problem with her. Yep. If you don't want to get hit by chains, you're not getting hit by chains, and the onus is on her to stop you. That's
why I think she needs a significant rework rather than kind of like how V1 Jaina needed her.
And you've seen we came up with the rework.
Yeah,
where she gets
came up with the chill idea. I think that though when you're talking about a tier list though, it's much like how in Smash 4 I'm playing and I see a bunch of people making tier lists and then they put Lucina a tier or two under Marth and I'm like, why? They're so close to the exact same character. There may be no real competitive reason to pick Lucina because she's Marth but worse. But she's still that good.
I think there's no competitive reason to pick Gwen because her only really super high power level things are either very jokerable because you led King, or two, very hard to hit because it's Jay, and you have to have a good reason to throw Gwen.
I think she's probably the best character to pick to Persephone. If you just need to win a game, she shuts her down harder than Setsuki, which I think is the second worst, and harder than BBB, which I think is the third worst.
I think Valerie is worse than Setsuki for Persephone. Sorry.
No. Valerie can get stuck a lot. But I think Gwen is the single best character to pick into Persephone. That's the big shining reason. But other than that, she's the all-rounder. You play her because I like Roy in Melee, you know?
You know the reason you pick Gwen, actually, now that I think about it, is I think you're better than your opponent and you don't want to think too hard. So you just sort of pick Gwen and hit buttons and do damage. And tell them to deal with Gwen because
I think that doesn't come into consideration at this point because we're talking about tier lists, which assumes top tier players.
That's the reason you would pick her. I'm not saying that's why on my tier list she's bottom.
I mean, if you wanted to achieve that,
I guess you could pick Zane for that though, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Is Zane or Trock if you just want to push buttons.
Yeah, Trock does that too.
So even for that, Gwen gets outclassed by somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that leads us to Raz for his. Let me move from Notepad to Libre real quick.
It's a good idea.
Notepad is awful for this. It means I can format it and shit. Okay. So, Raziek.
So, yeah. I'm at the moment I'm looking at the one I put up in the backroom vote, and I would say there are some slight changes I make to it.
Okay.
At highest level of play, I've changed my opinion. I don't know if I have. I think I put Zane and Grave tied.
Yeah, I've been arguing with him about this for a while now, and then Clan happened, and we've been talking about it since.
I think Brave Zane being tied makes a lot of sense in S tier as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, at the end of the day,
Riker
Zane
puts
is
Gravy
better.
like
Zane is better when he's snowballing. Grave is better when he's losing.
Grave is just solid all around. He doesn't really have super awful situations he gets stuck in.
I was preparing for Eric F, and I asked myself, what do I pick into Grave? Schwelp?
Fish, I guess, but then he maybe plays a counterpick to Fish.
I mean, I don't think Grave Fish is that bad, honestly.
I think it's pretty bad. I thought it was pretty bad in V1.
I don't think it's bad at all. I nearly beat Eric F's Fish today. He survived on 1 life.
It's so hard for Fish to lose that matchup when the Fish is like a Fish specialist.
I've seen it.
But either way,
Who do you define as a Fish specialist?
Pretty much Fra at this point.
Hydro.
Fra,
I've seen
Hydro,
Fra and Hydra both lose it.
Maybe I just have an easy time with the matchup because I have a hard time losing it.
anyway,
Gravesane tied to S.
yes.
Moving forward.
Gravesane tied S. Tier, obviously.
Okay.
Then DeGray next, then Troc.
Hey, it's my tier list.
Found it.
Then Lum.
Okay, highest we've seen him so far.
Trying to decide what order I want Setsuki Geiger.
I'll put them tied for right now, and if you come up with something, we'll separate them.
Tie, three-way tie Setsuki Geiger Manelker.
Okay.
I think that Geiger can be that good depending on how you define tier list.
Yeah. Anyway, tier.
Okay.
Arg.
Lots of respect for Fishman.
I think he deserves it.
Arg, Onimaru.
Valera?
What?
Yeah, I think I give her that much credit. Arg, Onimaru, Valerie.
I know you hate her.
Arg, Onimaru, Valerie, then tie between Gloria and Quince.
Okay.
Ooh, lots of faith for Gloria.
Tier.
Okay.
Or actually, no. Tack Midori on the end of that tier underneath Gloria Quince.
Okay, that's pretty decent for him. Okay. Tier.
Then tier. Vendetta, Gwen, Persephone. Not in that order though. Vendetta, Perse, Gwen, I think.
Okay. So I'm the only one who thinks Gwen is like completely poo awful then, right?
I think she's bottom 6, easy.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna make a tier for Gwen now that I think about it.
Then
I think that if you make a tier for Gwen, you gotta make a tier. She's gotta accompany Rook there.
I think Rook's a lot higher than you do, so...
Ooh, he's got so much going against him. And this was from the guy that sang his praises in V1 when Lum was a thing.
Okay, so we have Vendetta Perse Gwen. Is that a tier?
Yep, tier.
Okay.
Then BBB, then Rook, then Jaina. I think Jaina's the worst character.
I can definitely see that.
Notably, all of us have Jaina as bottom 2.
Yeah, she's definitely bottom
Well,
2. Like, it's the
I
worst
used to
character is
believe in
her
her
Rook, as
so
far as I'm
much.
concerned.
I used to believe in her so much, and I tried to believe in her, and I tried to believe in her, and then Ju proved me wrong.
Yeah.
By soloing Jaina and IYL and shitting the bed.
I watched how far he got. I was watching his matches constantly. And most of the time when he won, it's because he played the pants off somebody.
Or like
It
the
was
end
not
game
because
between me and...
Jaina's
The end game
game plan was
in
good.
the games 5 between Mike Quince and his Jaina was like really stressful for both of us. That could have easily gone either
That's
way.
what I'm saying. That's how all of his games went. And unlike somebody like Vendetta who reaches that point, you don't have acrobatics.
You have like, I have aces, please respect my aces.
And if you don't have to, then, well...
But yeah, I think that's my rearranged tier list.
Okay, well, Bomber's in here, so we should probably get yours too, right?
Sure. I'm just making it up right now, actually. Oh, I haven't put Valerie on my list.
Talk about Rook for a moment.
Sure. Since we disagree on Rook, okay, so you and Raz both have Rook as bottom 2.
Well, see, here's the thing. I believed in Rook above both Valerie and Geiger in V1. I believed Rook was like 6th on the tier list. Yeah, 6th. Whereas he was better than
with Midori and Degree being bottom 2, right?
Valerie and Geiger, right? Yeah, with Degree and Midori being bottom than Geiger than Valerie. I believed in him because a lot of people didn't because Lum matchup existed, right? And honestly, I thought the only other really bad matchup he had was I think the only other bad matchup I had him having was DeGray, which was a complete non-factor in V1.
Oh yeah, because he sucked, hey.
And then he was probably the best character in V1 to pick against Grave, unless it was Argar, right?
He's second best then, yeah, because Arg was I think clearly the best to pick against Grave.
Yeah, I think so too. I remember Argar, but the thing about it though is if you look at what exists in V2, right? Mm-hmm. His matchup spread didn't really change with V1 cast.
Notably, I think the Arg matchup has had a shift in opinion since V1.
Yes.
I think it's gotten a lot better because normal draw. The people that did benefit are the ones that get benefit from normal draw. But mostly his matchup spread has stayed the same. It's slid a little bit worse, I think, on V1 characters. If you look at the characters that were added in V2, then he does okay against Zane. That's pretty good. I think it's probably 5-5-4-5, right?
5-5-4-5 Rook favor is my appraisal of that.
That sounds about right.
I think he definitely loses to Troc because of the throw distribution.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that matchup's closer than it looks because of the better ace-ace.
I think it's close. I think he still loses. I think he loses to Onimaru.
Yeah.
I think he loses upon playing. I used to believe it was better. It was 5-5, but after playing it more and more, I think it's 5-5-4-5 Persephone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Notably, Eric Gap I think still has like 65-35 purse favor, something ridiculous.
Yeah. Mm.
Then there's
for good reason.
He really loses to BBB. Don't forget.
Then there's BBB that he gets bopped by. There's Gloria. He probably wins that one 5-5-4-5. I think that people that say Gloria is 5-5 with him are a little bit crazy.
I think that's even. I don't think that he can put enough pressure on Gloria.
Yeah, I'm with the 5-5 on that one as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's even, honestly.
That's even better, from my point.
Okay.
There's Gwen, which I think is even.
Mm-hmm.
Because for once in your life, you found a matchup where Chains is good.
I think Rook is favored there.
Who am I missing?
Vendetta.
I think Gwen has a very hard time doing 100 health before he dies.
I think Vendetta is about 5-5. And I think he does well against Vanilla.
Well, actually, Anomus believes that Vendetta is favored against Rook, and it's like his only good matchup.
Well, Anomus is high. I disagree with him a lot.
I mean,
I respect.
Discarding the fact that Anomus is a crazy Brazilian.
I respect that crazy Brazilian immensely. I love Animus, right?
Why? Because he's a giant troll.
But I disagree with him on pretty much everything.
Righto.
I'm kind of surprised that I'm kind of surprised that one of you hasn't gone Highlander on the other, just because there can only be one Vendetta style.
I've tried. He won't let me.
Won't let you fly to Brazil and cut his head off with a giant sword.
Exactly.
What do you think of Rick Quince?
Rick Quince, I think he loses.
You think he loses? I think that's even.
I think he loses.
I always think that if the Quince player is not willing to reach, Rook just kind of gets to go throw.
Not willing to reach. Oh my gosh. It's the same reason I think that DeGray. I talked about him losing to DeGray in the beginning is because DeGray lost in V1 because his combat options weren't good. But against Rook, your combat options are fine.
So I think Rook beats Gwen. I think that's a difference there. I think that Rook has so much health he can sit and play.
Did he really gain much relevance in the meta from V2? From the V2 cast?
Well, if you look at the top two, what do you think his matchup against Grave?
His matchup against Grave? I think it's 5-5.
And you matchup against Zane?
Mm-hmm. I think his matchup against Zane is, I'd defer to Raz, but I have it as 5-5.
I think Grave is favored versus Rook slightly.
It's that or 5-5-4-5.
If you think that he goes even with Grave and is slightly favored against Zane, that is a relevant reason to pick him. Because I think, for the record, I think Grave does better against Troc than against Rook.
That is a reason.
I believe that too.
But my question is, why would you do that? Why would you do that instead of Trock, which I think goes better against?
You want a better Grave matchup.
I don't know about that.
Who do you think does better against Geiger, Trock or Rook?
Trock.
Really, I think Rook.
I can AFK autopilot Jack against Rook a lot of the time. The fact that you don't have dodges and you've only got 4 blocks and I can cross that block up when you're knocked down is just disgusting.
Yeah.
Who do you think does better against Gary?
Riker kind of knocked Gister into the Shadow Realm. Like, he hasn't been seen again.
I think versus Gary, you have, I know it's roughly the same. I would guess Trock, because at the end of the game, Trock has dodges.
So,
I would say
I think this speaks to why I have Rook higher than you. So if you look at your top 4 for a second, disregard that my top 4 is different a bit, right? So, we'll, for the sake of argument, we'll give you your top 4, which is Gravesend.
What I was saying is I think Rook is the most likely to get counterpicked character in the game, because almost every player in this game has something that counterpicks Rook, and most of them have something that counterpicks Rook pretty rough.
Fine, but if you want a reason to pick Rook, and probably the reason I have him higher is goes about even with Grave, probably at least beats Zane by a little bit, goes about even with DeGray, honestly. I don't think it's that bad, and I think he goes even with Trock. So, given that matchup spread, it makes a lot more sense to put him higher than you have him. If you're going to make a tier list based on matchup numbers. I think having health to give helps a lot when you have ace. Like, and having 5 more than Trock is relevant sometimes.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
I think that Trock has a rougher time against the robot than Rook does.
My question is since Gister fell off the face of the earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the most relevant Rook player?
I think it's
Phoenix? Nation is a QM monster. When was the last time he entered a tournament? And how did he do?
IYL?
Well, I was going to say, Nation's IYL performance
so
is
far
what
in
you're looking
IYL.
at now.
He's what, 2-0?
2-0 or 2-1, I don't remember
Who did he
which.
beat?
Myself, and I don't remember the other person.
Free.
I think he's West Realm.
He's West Realm, he's in Heart of Darkness.
Yep.
Okay.
In the division with me and Mad King.
How did he do the inner IYL last time?
No, I don't think so.
This is his first time.
I mean,
I think for how he plays, I think Rook is a better fit for him than any other character in the game.
Yeah, he's too
a maniac.
That's because he needs 100 health to get data.
Sure, that 100 health is still a thing.
First 90 HP is data, guys. Don't worry about it.
And I'm gonna hit him with 4 Wall of Vines or a Checkmate Buster.
Take your pick. Just for the record, we avoided 9 aces in the Trock game.
I noticed.
I was like, okay, just block the good move. They're gonna play the good move.
So, I guess that's my justification for having Rook higher than you do, for what that's worth.
I think, at the end of the day, you do not want to see Rook versus Geiger. You do not want to see Rook versus BBB. You do not want to see Rook versus Lum.
You don't want to see Trock against any of those 3 either, though.
You don't want to see Rook versus Onimar.
You don't want to see
Trock in that either.
I think Trock does far better against the rest of them than Rook does.
I think Trock is hard with the Rook.
Far better against. I think Trock does far better against Geiger. I think Trock does far better against Lum.
I will agree that Trock does worse against Onimaru than Rook does.
Yeah, I think that's probably true too.
Stonewalling Onimaru is kind of funny.
But
The only thing you're upset to Stonewall is Clockwork Soldiers. Everything else is like 8 to 20.
at the end of the day,
Any smart Onimar is not going to play much of a role.
At the end of the day, Trock has access to Beast Unleashed.
Well, more accurately, it's actually dodge.
It's a 45 damage super he can confirm into out of dodge. When at the end of the day, if Rook wants to beat you, he has to lay it all on the line.
But then Rook, on the other hand, has the 0.8 20 damage, which is a pretty relevant speed number.
How often is it relevant compared to the 1.0?
If you want to go through all of those matchups,
the
then
matchup,
it's relevant. It's relevant versus Onimaru.
How many of
It's relevant.
It's heavily relevant versus
Trock, that's immediately very relevant.
It's
because
not. It's You're right that it's not relevant versus Geiger and it's not relevant versus BBB. Well, I mean, he won't take damage from the normal range, but like that means very, very little. And versus Lum, it's not relevant. Oh no, actually, you're sorry, it is very relevant because it can.
Instead of losing outright.
You're right. So it's relevant in 2 of those 4 matchups that we were talking about.
Which is still like a thing. Also, you beat True Spark Arc cleanly instead of trading.
But what I'm going to say is that at the end of the day, in those situations where it is relevant, you have dodge. So it's super relevant in those matchups when you're KD.
I mean, I think one of the best strategies against Trock is to knock him down, so that's a thing.
Yeah, but how'd you knock him down?
I agree with that very heavily.
I mean, you picked Geiger. That's not too hard. Or you play any of the characters who have a down attack.
I mean, versus Lum, I guess you don't knock him down very often.
Lum just sort of laughs at both of them.
Yeah, it's kind of rude.
But the big difference between them is at the end of the day, Trock steals games and Rook does not. That's why Trock is good. Is he has the good grappler spread, right?
And also the fast one.
And he has better face cards, which means he's allowed to play aggressive from early. Yeah.
King is tied, obviously.
King is tied.
Jack, I think Rook is better. Unless you're talking about the Valerie matchup.
I agree with that. I think Rook has better face cards overall.
I think that obviously
Queen is better than Queen?
It's even. Queen is better. Trock Queen's better than Rook Queen, although in some matchups the Queen throw is relevant to like knock off Healing Sphere to knock out Dragon Form.
But Trock Queen is also solid damage, whereas
Rook Queen isn't bad. It's 9 plus 5 or it's 10.
Sorry, I said that backwards. Rook Queen is solid damage, whereas Trock Queen is just kind of like, pop.
It's 9.
I think you guys are hella underselling how good.
As a combat reveal, yes, Trox is much better, but it's not like Rook's is bad. Rook's J is better than Trox, and the Kings are.
What I'm talking about is the sum total of their face cards allows Trock to play much more aggressively than Rook.
Because Trock's face cards are not combo cards, they're combat reveal cards. That makes a lot of difference. For Rook, his Jack, I guess, is normally a combat reveal. Sometimes it's a combo card. Trock's Jack and Queen are never combo cards, except for incredibly rare circumstances, like when it's lethal.
I think that Rook's Queen is a very good combat reveal.
No.
Situations.
Sorry, yeah,
combat reveal?
Rook's Queen?
Rook's Queen, yes.
Not generally. There's some scenarios in which you want to use it, but it's not often.
Rook's Queen's a pretty fucking good combat reveal against Zane, for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's an incredible combat reveal in scenarios where they're worried about King.
It's about as good as Jack. Like that's my assumption.
Yeah.
Alright, so
end of the day, you lose your 14 damage ender if you miss.
Yeah.
Although notably, Juicer thinks that you shouldn't use a Pump Queen, but I'll digress.
I think there's plenty of times to use Pump Queen. But there's a lot of times to use Rolling Stone as well.
So I guess before we get to Bomber's list, I'm going to ask you two, why do you both have Gwen higher than number 20? And excisively higher than number 20. Razik has her the next tier up, and Riker has her Borderline next tier up.
My situation with Gwen...
Actually, no, you put her in next tier up, I'm sorry.
She's pretty much the queen of the 45-55. She has a bunch of losing matchups, but I don't think she has, like, much that's, you shouldn't win. I think that as far as characters go, you could theoretically solo main Gwen. Be hard, but a lot more doable than a lot of characters that are better.
You run into Trock or DeGray and you cry tears of blood.
DeGray is not that bad.
I do not think Gwen DeGray is that bad.
Yeah.
Trock, though?
It's 55-45. I think that
I do not think Gwen Trock is that bad. I think it is Trock favored, but I do not think it is heavily
Gwen
Trock
Valerie?
favored. Okay, that's Valerie favored. Yeah.
That's pretty terrible.
Yeah, Gwen Valerie's pretty cheeks.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you could still kill her with dodge.
Yeah.
I just saw Ju lose that matchup.
Like dodge into chains is really good in that matchup.
Yeah, it's amazing
Really
in that
good.
matchup.
You dodge into chains and then you go, now I get to king you. What's up?
Or throw you for 28, and you only have to
that.
hit her like 3 times. Not 3 times. You have to hit her like 4 times.
Yeah, well, 3 to 4 depends on what the hit is.
That's a doable match.
And if you somehow manage to land a chains on a Valerie throw, you just go right in.
There goes half her health.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what now?
Valerie just goes,
Even if you land a king on it, you're doing 30.
Yeah.
Unless you jokers, because that's like the easiest thing in the world to joker.
My reasoning is much the same as Riker. I basically consider her a lesser Valerie, with some counterplay to bursts. Like, that's
Especially
her main,
against grapplers.
that's her main thing she has going for her, is if number one, she doesn't ever have to worry about being card starved.
Yeah. That's a thing. Like, that's a real
And
good thing.
like, she's almost always going to draw both her jokers, unless you just lose horribly, horribly quickly. And if you guess correctly on the throw read, it's just, oops, that's a lot of damage.
On the flip side, you then have that speed hole at 1.0 that's staring at you.
I mean, yeah, but, like, as
Bruh.
much as we talk about Theoryland, where Grave just presses single ace for the entirety
Then why
of
do
the
you
game,
have-
that doesn't happen. Like,
I'm talking about. I mean, I understand that.
Also, but bear in mind, that
but
2.02, that is relevant.
I've been sitting here saying about how. I've been sitting here like preaching about how these matchups that people keep saying are absolute trash garbage bin for Vendetta are not, because there's counterplay to a speed hole. If you're scared about 1.0 speed holes that are just staring at you, then Minelker's not that good.
Yeah.
You have dodge and a DSD if you're Minelker.
You
I mean,
dodge
you
in a
gotta get that
Dreadlands.
DSD. You gotta get that.
It's a 55.
It's still 22. And at the end of the day, if you land 2 attacks with Gwen that aren't queen, or 1 attack and enough queens, then you can win off dodge AAA.
Yeah.
And if you're scared to play the AAA, you can play 14, and then you get a turn to play without
meanwhile,
having to
really
worry about the
wish-
speed hole.
I really
meanwhile,
wish that AAA was 24 so that it was at least as efficient as attack, but anyway.
Meanwhile, Rook has to win significantly more combats than pretty much any character in the entire game.
He's got a point.
He can
Yep.
lose significantly more, but he also has to win significantly more.
But
And
then he doesn't
I
have
don't know that he
extra
can-
options for that.
I don't know that he can win. I don't know that he can win significantly more, because I think Rook might be number 2 in the game, worst draw, or number 2, second worst draw engine in the game.
Yes.
Who draws cards worse than Rook other than Persephone?
Trock.
I disagree.
Trock? I'm going to say, at the end of the day, Trock has
Trock-
worst on cantrip. And
Trock has a bad keeping cards in his hand, but drawing cards, he's definitely better than Rook.
because at the end of the day, you're scared of
Throwing to 20. Like,
yeah, you're scared of 20 damage throws, whereas Rook is just like, 10, whatever.
you
that's
just sit
why
around
I
and
want
block
12 damage throws. I want him to terrify you.
it. Then it's nearly a king every time.
Yeah,
Can we
that's
also
the
make,
idea.
Okay, we should buff King to 16 damage so we have an interesting progression, and King is more scary.
Ah.
So, let's just get to Bomber's tier list. I think he's been waiting.
Oh, I mean, I'm not too worried. The discussion's been interesting. Yeah, all right. So I didn't really put it in tiers because I'm not really good at that. But to clarify, I do not think this game has an S tier, because to me, S tier is playing this character basically strictly dominates playing every other character in the game, and I don't think that is true.
That's fair. I'm
because
using S
the
for
balance
sake of
is tough.
readability,
I was gonna say, if you were gonna go back to my list, I would just rename S A+, and that.
which I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Depends on your
I think that's
definition.
perfectly fine. I think there is certainly an A+ here. I agree with that.
I'm gonna mark as S on my list just for the sake of readability for myself.
Okay.
There are
Just
very
as long
few
as we're
games-
clear that S is
I
not.
will also say that I'm more liberal with my S tier definition, because I think that the situation you reach when at top level play you should pick this character, right? Is much more generous than everyone else seems to believe.
I will also add that Riker and I come from BlazBlue and Smash, the lands of Meta Knight and pre-patch Kokonoe. The only
Those are S plus tiers.
one of the only characters to ever receive 5 S's in a competitive game that wasn't like the game with Ivan Ooze.
Well, well, don't forget. So CT, you had the 4S tier of Rachel New Arcune.
Well, yeah, but at least you had 4 of them instead of just 1.
3.
I also play Uniel,
Oh, the Land of Gordo and Gordo.
the land of Gordo.
Apparently,
sometimes
people think
Merkava.
that game is actually significantly more well balanced than I would be led to believe. But
Because
patch
Gordo
helps a lot.
exists and people are nutsy.
Well, Gordo, Merkava's almost.
And then Waldstein below those two, right?
Not anymore. Carmine is there, and Sion, I think, is also past him now.
Okay.
Either way, and then we also come from Meta Knight Land, so
Or Melee, which had space animals.
more specifically, facts.
Well, I mean, Melee has a land where it's an 8-character game and a 40-character game.
Anyway, so
Melee has
before we
like
go-
27, dude.
So, given that bummer,
Right. It's much smaller than that.
Yeah, right, sorry. So, yeah, this is kind of an approximation. I didn't really put them in tiers. They're not really 100% correct order, but this is just a feel from top to bottom. From
I'm
best to worst.
Bomber, and I don't like being held to exact things because someone might point it out to me later.
I'm scared of editing my tier list.
Is this-
I love you, Bomber. Keep going.
How long has this been a thing? I wasn't aware of this.
Keep
We're
going.
just joshing you, homie.
Right, so I like to put disclaimers in front of stuff. Anyway, so Grave Zane.
Disclaimer. I like disclaimers.
Grave Zane. Let the man finish. Come on.
Grave Zane, DeGray, Trock, Minelka, Geiger, Lum, Arg, Oni, Val, Quince, Gloria, Satsuki, Midori.
Okay, you're going way too fast for me. Sorry, I don't type that fast. Okay, so Grave Zane, DeGray Trock. I'll put a split there for readability.
Okay.
Manelker Geiger.
Many Lum, Arg, yeah.
Okay.
Oni, Val, Quince, Gloria.
I'll put the pauses in words for tier breaks. Oni, Val,
Sure.
Quince, Gloria.
Sets, Mid, Rook, Ven,
Sets, mid, rook, Ven.
Gwen, Jaina, Percy, BB.
You have Setsuki surprisingly
Yes,
low.
very, very low.
I think she gets dunked on by a lot of good characters.
I think at the end of the day, Setsuki can 7-loop every character in the game to death.
Say, who the fuck dunks Setsuki, really? Like, Trock is about the only one I would say dunks Sets straight up.
End of
I
the
would say-
day, you can uppercut her to
say-
death.
I won't say it's a dunk. I will say that Quince has a very, very good matchup against her.
And at the
I
end of the day,
think-
you can loop him to death.
Okay, so I think Grave is advantage versus Sets. I think Zane is
At the
advantage
end of the
versus
day,
Sets.
you
I
can
think
loop him to
DeGray
death. End of the
is
day, you
even
can loop
with Sets. I think Trock dunks on Sets. I think Minelka is beats Sets.
You didn't even
I
call
don't
it.
know. I don't believe that one.
And I think Geiger has reasonable play versus Sets. I think it's slight Sets advantage.
I think it's 5-5, 4-5 sets. I would agree.
Lum.
Lum, that one's kind of iffy. I don't really play Lum much.
Okay,
there's
so
no super-
let's go for some breaks in your tier list for actual breaks since we have it on
Okay.
paper. So,
Sure.
top 4. Grave Zane to Great Trock. Do you think there's a significant, like, not significant, but a reasonable gulf between any of those 4?
Mm,
Or would you say Grave Zane to Great Trock are all equivalent power level?
I wouldn't say they're all incredibly equivalent. I think there are slightly better, but they're pretty much.
So you would say, okay, do you think there's a
You
gulf
don't
between...
believe in the break between Gravestain and the rest of the cast?
I guess there's a slight break, but I don't think it's quite as big as you guys say.
I'll mark that there's a break there. Okay, so here's the next tier. So we'll have Grave Zane about equal. DeGray, let me know when you think there's a break. DeGray,
Okay.
Trock, Manelker, Geiger,
Yeah, all right. There must be one at least between Minelka and Geiger.
Manelker, Geiger. Okay, so we have we have 3 below that. So Geiger, Lum, Argagarg, Onimaru, Valor.
Yeah, probably there.
Okay, Argagarg, Onimaru,
No, only Val, I think.
Onival. Okay, so Valerie, Quince, Gloria, Satsuki.
Out there, definitely.
Okay, so Setsuki. Okay, so below that, Midori, Rook, Vendetta, Gwen.
These ones weren't in like a super particular order. I was kind of just like, these are kind of bad characters beyond this point.
Okay, so we have a bottom 7 for you then.
Yeah, I guess. Those are like 7 characters who I'm like, these are
And
not
honestly,
any
most of our
higher.
conversation has been splitting these characters up, which I think is really interesting.
Well, I think that the top has basically sorted itself out by now. You can disagree and you can understand why you disagree, right?
I'm saying
You
top
could
list.
argue, but I think top 7. I think the only real dispute is whether or not I'd say top 8, right?
Apparently, whether
Because-
Setsuki's in there.
Aside from Bomber being a crazy person, I think top 8 is pretty
I have
undisputed.
sets tied for 8th on mine, so. So, okay.
I mean, I just don't see enough sets as doing well. Like, I see a lot of people playing sets, I just don't see them doing well.
How many people do you see playing sets that have been playing this game for a year?
CKR,
Who does pretty well?
5ek.
Who does really well?
What's he won?
He's currently, I still think, undefeated in Summer Smash.
He also has won 2 tournaments recently.
Alright, I didn't know that.
Mind you, they were
who
one
else
day
plays
tournaments.
Suki?
Which
CPAC
Yeah, he
used to
enters
play a
all
lot
the
of
one-day
Satsuki.
tournaments.
CPAC used to play a lot of Satsuki, and he didn't really win anything major.
Yeah?
Also, hello, Drew. You walked into Roundtable recording.
Oh, hi
Did he?
there.
But we're talking about Bomber's tier list.
Hello?
We'll put yours up next, I guess. I'm putting in a giant document.
What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, you see a lot of people playing Setsuki because she was, before Zane, hands down the #1 most popular character in the game. And
Yeah.
now maybe it's Zane, but aside from that, she's still one of the absolute most popular characters in the game because people who are just starting out with this game go, Setsuki, I don't have to hand manage. I have dominant attacks and throws. This is amazing.
Yeah,
And they play
I
her
think that-
until they either quit the game or disappear. And you've complained to me about how do I beat Setsuki in quick match.
I mean, probably, but that's probably when I wasn't playing Troc.
You can't play Troc every game.
So,
Exactly.
I'm going to try to sort your bottom 7 out a little bit, unless you think they're all about the same power level,
Okay, sure.
which is Midori, Rook, Ven, Gwen, Jaina, Persephone, Robot.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you think any of those are better than any of the other ones by some reasonable margin?
Okay, well, I guess Midori is probably at least in the sort of top area of that.
Okay.
Because I can't discount.
Excellent
Like, I
character.
do think he's not a strongish character, but I cannot discount Leontis and Clan's success with him.
Okay.
Like, they've shown that when he gets good hands, he just woof.
For all the queens,
And you
11 out
have
of
to
10.
Yeah, if you draw every single queen in your deck plus a 2, or maybe 2 2s.
I'm more of
Sometimes
a
it's
draw
kings
king.
and aces.
I'm more of a
Whatever.
draw king school of thought. It's okay, dog. I dropped
Yeah,
something
well, I
next
mean-
to you, and now you're scared.
So, we have Midori at the
But yeah.
top of that list. Who do you think would be the worst of the 6 left? We have Rook, Ven, Gwen,
That's hard.
Jaina, Persephone, Robot.
I don't know who I think the worst is.
Jaina.
I guess it's probably a toss-up between Jaina and Robot.
Okay, Jaina, Robot will put at the bottom. I'll put them tied.
Then I think Persephone just above them, and then I guess Gwen and Vendetta in the middle.
And Rook?
Oh,
Is Rook closer to Jaina?
I guess he's slightly closer to Midori than he is to Jaina.
Okay. I will put a break. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a couple breaks. Midori, Rook get
Yeah.
a tier themselves.
Okay, sure.
Vendetta, Gwen, Persephone after that, and then Jaina, BB get a tier themselves.
Alright, I like
As
it.
much as this is fun to discuss, though, I would appreciate if we didn't go posting these on the forum because I like the fact that we can talk about which characters are good and then go point at a consensus tier list because I like the idea of the consensus tier list being the rough idea of the tier list.
Right, I'm going to say this is a document I can
Yeah.
hear, but I'm not going to put it anywhere else.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And we can talk about it here. People can talk about it because we're gonna post this on YouTube. I'm just saying I'd rather keep it off the boards because I think the consensus tier list is a very smart idea for
So
this.
Is
point.
that the one that Deluxe put on?
Yeah.
I think the consensus tier list is a smart idea, except for the fact that it ended up with Brave at 4th.
I don't think that's terrible. Like,
I think that it is a travesty at this point.
So,
Yeah.
Jew. So, for what you've missed... Are you here, Jew?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so Zane and Grave are consensus top 2. None of us have put them anywhere but top 2.
Mm-hmm.
Jaina is consensus bottom 2.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's been a little weird. The weird one so far that we've sort of noticed is Bomber has Setsuki at number 13, somewhere in the bottom of C tier.
Juhichi also plays Satsuki, that's a point.
And I have Persephone obviously higher than everybody else, but this is news at this point. I have Gwen as the worst character in the game, Raz and Riker both have her in the tier above that sort of area, and Bomber has her sort of a bit closer to my end than theirs, but still not bottom 2.
Right. I guess it's my prompt to go down.
Sure. Just so you know where we stand, I'm not sure if you'll disagree or agree with any of that, so.
Right. So
Who's number 1?
I think my consensus top 2 and bottom 2 are pretty much the same. I have Zane and Grave as the best 2 characters in the game.
Do you have either above the other, or are they about the same?
To be honest, I probably have Zane a bit higher because I think he dunks a lot more matchups than Grave does.
So the first person to put Zane above Grave, me and Raz have them tied. I think Bomber has Grave with a slight edge, and Raz has them tied. Riker has Grave better.
Yeah, I would have Zane slightly ahead. We're close. I mean, they're functionally around the same.
So your bottom 2 is
Jaina and BBB.
Who's worse, or do you have them the same?
I have BBB being slightly better.
Okay, so Jaina as the worst.
Yeah, they're about the same too.
Okay, so I have that set up. Okay.
My third best character is Chalk. Fourth best is the Gray.
That's top 4 for everybody in the room.
Except for myself. I think
Oh no, you put Minelker in there because you're a crazy person.
not that crazy.
I don't think he's top 4.
From there, so
That's my 5.
I'll basically tell you the separating of characters because I did them in groups. Top 4, which were like higher top or whatever you want to call it.
Do you want to put a gap between Grave and Trock for readability's sake, or no?
No, they're all in the same grouping to me,
Okay.
of quality of character. I mean, I think those 2 are obviously slightly stronger than everybody else, but
Not a tier differential.
yeah, I don't think it's really a tier differential.
Okay.
Below that, I have Lum, Setsuki, Minoker,
And I'm typing as well. So Lum, Setsuki,
Minoker and Geiger.
Nelker, Geiger.
Honestly, my appraisal of Minoker sort of continues to go down, but it's still in a feel sake. It's hard to like really put him lower than that to me. When
It's also like, no offense to the people that are out there trying to run it right now, but nobody's trying to run it right now. Since Tips and Tricks left, we don't have a Minelker.
And Mio's switching over to Quince right now.
he probably plays both.
I mean,
It's
even
good.
then, Migo hasn't been around like Tips and Tricks was. Like, I love Migo to death. He's 6'0".
Tips got eaten by
Eh?
Prismata.
But
He did.
You got eaten by what?
Prismata.
Prismata.
What's that?
what do you mean is that?
It's like a
It's
turn-based
like
strategy card.
StarCraft and like
It's the Bastard Child of
Magic, I
StarCraft and
guess.
Puzzle Strike.
Right.
yeah,
well,
something like that.
Anyway,
I miss him.
So
Oh,
Geiger gets. See, is there a gap after Geiger?
yes, that's the next 4.
Okay.
That's that collection for me. Below that, I have Arg, Valerie, Quince, and Onimaru.
Okay.
Um,
Are all yours in 4s, or is there actually like a significant?
no, there's a split after this.
Okay.
I actually still think that Argagog is probably the best of that bunch.
A lot of faith in Fish.
I really just think that his particular brand. I mean, I call them like anti-airs or whatever.
You and Raz have him at exactly the same position, actually.
Yeah, because I feel like Arc's defense is pretty underrated, and
Actually, so far, you and Raz have very, very similar tier lists. The only difference is the placing between Onimaru, Valerie, and Quince.
yeah, it probably is almost exactly similar.
I think that's the murkiest area in the game.
Yeah, I think it's pretty murky. Below them, I have Midori and what is her name?
Gloria?
Gloria in the same tier.
Okay.
I have those 2 about the same. Actually, my appraisal of Vin is probably slightly better, but
I got 3 wins with him today, Jew!
yeah, I saw. For now, he's down there a bit further.
Well,
And-
split after Gloria?
Yep, split after Gloria and mid, and then Vin, Gwen, and Rook line out my not quite bottom tier, with Persephone joining Jaina and the robot as the 3 worst characters in the game. I feel like I've been pretty well documented by saying this, but I think Persephone sucks. And the reason why I think she sucks is
She's
her
got all the
lockout.
problems low health characters have without the advantages.
Yeah, like her lockout is good, and I mean with God Hand you can kind of set it up, but like it's still tumultuous to keep it up.
I continue to point out that I think she has the lowest effective life total in the game, because she has, I believe, because of how heavy a dodge rather than block range she needs to play, and how few times she gets to play normals realistically.
Yep.
Like sometimes she normals. I mean, there's a button she presses sometimes, but realistically she doesn't get normal draw very often.
Yep.
So I think she goes through her deck the slowest. She can recur everything once she gets it, right?
Yeah.
But the odds of her finding her jokers are lower than any other character in the game, and she's a 75 life character.
Yeah. The other thing that I really point to is Persh really just doesn't have an alternative game plan. And the shitty thing about that is if she had even like a remotely sort of sustaining knockdown but hit damage thing that wasn't just AA, like when I play her, I really try to put, especially in early combats if I can, and also get the sustain, I will like pump into a J 100% of the time. Because I really think that she needs that to be able to kill characters.
What if Ace did 2 more damage? What would you think of her?
I still think she would be really boring, but she would probably slightly do better at what she's doing. But that's more of a design
That's probably
thing.
actually where I would buff her, is give her 2 damage on AA and give her 4 damage on MC.
Yeah,
Or give MC a 5 damage punish.
yeah, what's equally notorious is I feel like that this design of Persephone is a failure, and I really don't like it. There's an older build that I really liked, that I won't go into. Yeah, she drew cards, and she sacrificed hard lock for better positioning and better damage. But
You want to play card games, and I can respect that.
yeah, I wanted to play. I feel like most of the characters that I play and I'm good at are pretty neutral heavy. They won't automatically lock you out, but with smart play they lock you out, and that's kind of what I wanted with Persephone, but it didn't happen. So, but as of right now, I think, especially if you run into characters, and there are a lot of like characters that are lower end on the tier list that disrupt her game plan.
Gwen and BBB!
Yep, Gwen, BBB, Jaina, Finn,
Jaina.
Gloria, Midori. Like there are a lot of things that can go wrong for her.
Zane?
I'm only talking about characters that are weak or considered to be weak. It gets even worse sometimes as you go further up. But so more or less, I mean, I'm not impressed by the character, and I think the fact that nobody is really doing anything with it really just kind of validates
the fact that she does have good representation. Unlike some of these characters. Like, Minoker, I think, is a character that is pretty solid, that doesn't have representation. Graves is a character that lacks representation, but when he does have representation, he does very well.
Yep.
Those characters don't have representation.
Clan, Cough, Nemesis, Candon, Cough, Eric F.
Meanwhile, you have Persephone, which has Eric F running around. He's basically switched to Grave at this point. He didn't counterpick me with Persephone playing Quence. Just stay Grave there. You've got Shax running around. You've got
you've never
a couple of other people.
had a strong player try to play that character. From now to me,
we'll see where Negate
Riker,
goes right now. I still play that character in Quick Match. I keep that character up, looking for an opportunity to play her, especially because it's team draft, right? And I want to win that.
Right.
But
I get
into sets and I look at characters, even ones where I could consider picking Persephone. I'm like, that's just not the right decision.
Yes. As I was continuing to say, as we kind of got off of what I was talking about, the character has never been at a point where she didn't have strong players trying to play her. I mean, it has always happened since she came out. I mean, the first big proponent of the character, where I thought that she was probably stronger than I initially thought, was Frick. And I remember times where Mad King and I would run against Frick's Persephone a lot. And we would do it for like tens of games at a time. And that initially kind of raised my opinion of her. But as other characters' games and game plans kind of fleshed out, especially kind of alternative game
And
plans.
then she got nerfed like 4 times in a row.
She did get nerfed a couple times in a row. She just
For good reason.
really... Yeah, for good reason. She just really is not impressive, I think. Whereas Menoker and
No,
the big reason why I think he can stand to drop lower is because his health is so low.
Yeah.
And the mistakes that he gets to make are very few and very far in between. Which I guess I can see when Bomber, for example, puts like sets as low as 13. I mean, she doesn't win anything, but to be fair, a lot of characters in this game don't win anything.
Where's your degree wins?
I mean, who's winning with Lum? Who is winning with that character? And that's like, Lum has never been a bad character, but who's winning with that character? No one.
Well,
Like,
maybe if Intelliman actually did something.
Intelliman
Okay,
is...
obvious dig time coming. If he doesn't run into me in tournament, he might.
I feel like if Intelliman doesn't run into people that... I won't even continue.
Hey, you know what happens most of the time when I see Tillerman playing Lum? He's like, I should probably play Grave.
Yeah, I think that there are still strong characters that aren't winning. So I feel like the you have to win things for validation's sake isn't super strong. Because I mean, we have low tiers getting second. We have
For the
like
record, I don't have I have Persephone like somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 14 for what that's.
Madman.
And I have the highest placing of her right now.
So
Yes, but you used to have her in like top 5.
I did.
It's a gradual process. I'm waiting for you to put her in bottom tier.
so
Eventually.
I mean, we have a bottom 10 character winning tournaments, and we don't really have a solo of the consensus best character in the game winning tournaments, and we have solo Midori winning tournaments. So I mean, like,
you get a solo Raz
everyone, like, I think
in
tries Jaina for like 3 games and is like, fuck this.
yeah, Jaina sucks. I mean, I tried it for
You
more than half
lost a
the
season of IYL trying it.
Yes, I lost a season of IYL trying to play that character.
We salute you. And we shed some tears for you while we're at it.
No, I mean, absolutely not. I was the one who decided to play that character. I thought that I had something, and I didn't.
I mean, I lost a season trying to solo Quince, so...
Yeah, but I mean, you at least got to...
I got to playoffs and I got pieced.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. But, yeah, so I mean, that...
For it.
Yeah, that's my tier list. I think characters that can fall a bit further, Minoker could probably... it's still weird.
Can DeGray fall?
I don't think so.
I think he can.
I think DeGray can fall, but I don't think a character jumps him.
Let me put it this
I'll
way.
put it that way.
On my list, DeGray at 6 is the highest I've ever had him.
Yeah,
The highest? Don't you mean the lowest?
I
Highest.
still think DeGray randomly kills a lot of characters in this game.
I think end of the day, I would have a hard time seeing DeGray fall past number 5.
Yeah, I can't justify that.
It'd be a really weird world.
Even with like Lum or Sets jumping him, they're still very similar. In fact, I think the most realistic thing that I could see myself doing is dropping DeGray a tier grouping, and then dropping Minoker and Geiger a tier grouping, and resorting a little bit from there.
Do you want me to do that right now, or do you have you...
No. He's talking about things you could foresee in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something I can foresee in the future. But for now, nah, I like the groupings that I have.
Can I mention so far that I do like the meta shifts this game has gone through, actually?
Interesting.
In what sense?
So, what was the consensus top 2 when V2 dropped?
The Grey Troc?
No, not the Grey Truck. You're skipping a part of the meta.
Oh.
Yeah,
DeGray something.
I'm forgetting that one. I think that might have been when I didn't play.
Setsuki and DeGray.
Yeah, it was Sets DeGray.
Satsuki was like consistent, considered like the best character in the
I
game. Right?
I have a hard time thinking of a world in which any like Yomi game drops, unless you're talking about just based on past experiences, where unless she gets nerfed, the Satsuki is not considered top tier at the start.
Very start of V1, she was considered.
She was the worst character in the game at the very, very start of V2 on the server.
She was also considered. Well, we're talking about official release, I think.
Oh yeah, okay.
She was considered not very good when V1 first dropped, and it took me showing people briefly before I switched to full-time Fish in V1. This character's really silly. For people to realize the character was really silly.
Wasn't there still Fish Eat Corn at that time?
He didn't start playing. Well, I started very early, and then I switched to Fish. Fish Eat Corn started as a Geiger player, and then started playing Satsuki. And then they're like, "Oh, Satsuki's good." They didn't have her as top 4 until much later.
Yeah, she was top 4 consensus, I think, around the time that we started playing.
I had her, at and that was a drop from when everyone had her at top 3, right below the Stormborns.
I think I had her at number 3 throughout the entirety of V1, but I digress. We're not talking about V1.
Yeah, so Satsuki, and then it became Degraytrock. Then I think it stayed Degraytrock for a while, and then people are like, well, what about Zane? And then it became Zanetrock. And Degray sort of dropped a bit because Degray doesn't like the world where Zane and Trock are played a bunch.
Yep. And I also felt like...
And then briefly there was like the age of everyone liking Geiger, except for like 2 people.
Oh my gosh, I hated that age.
But then Zane and Trock were still considered.
I do remember that when V2 first launched, everybody had Vendetta in the top 5.
I remember that too.
A little bit for that.
Wait, when did that happen?
That was only me, I think.
At the launch, no, it was you, it was Rad XT, it was Deluxe, it was a lot of people talking about Vendetta because everybody was like, oh my gosh, he does so much damage!
And now we've gotten to a point where finally, keep in mind, I think I've been the most consistent placer of Grave around the area everyone has him right now.
I've always said Grave was good. I have always believed in that character.
I never thought he was worse than bottom 5, like top 5, but I was never really sure about the placement.
I think I'm the only person who's put him in top 2 or 3 literally the entire lifespan of V2.
Yeah, I hadn't. He was like 3 for me.
I don't think he's ever fallen below 3 for me.
I know that Manelker and Grave have always been in my top 3.
I don't think I think this is the highest Degree's ever been for me, though.
Yeah, I don't think
I believed him in for the longest time.
Yeah, I don't think I ever put Manelker higher than like 5.
The other meta ships have been toward the bottom, where Gloria was considered consensus tied for worst in the game, and now she's risen quite a bit.
Yeah,
yes.
she was tied for...
Well, that's what LK404 does for you.
Well, LK...
It's what people playing Twilight Key does for you.
Yep.
Sharp object.
Sharp
Guybrush,
yep.
Archon.
Guybrush, yep. There are
a lot of dedicated solo Gloria players who have seen success.
And now
with
that thing I'm mentioning is happening, where people are starting to bump Valerie up a little bit to at least upper middle.
I think she's got, like I said, a lot more.
I never had Valerie like worse than like 12.
I think at one point Raz had her like borderline. I think Raz had her in bottom 6 at one point.
It must have been close, like absolute top end, because I've gone through love-hate phases with her, but I don't like I've always basically had her between like the 11th and 14th area.
Yeah.
I remember your knee jerk as soon as around the time Burst Speed got nerfed, and right when Bold Strokes got re-added was like, it doesn't matter, she's still bottom 5 because there's no reason to pick her.
I mean, it's still pretty bad that it's still pretty bad that Bold Strokes
Don't make
is
him.
gone, but-
Don't make him. Don't make him do that again. All right.
Okay.
Don't make him go back there.
Okay.
Well, the reason I made that incredibly painful sounding noise is because I'm playing Crazy Orders and I got Great Cave Offensive and I pretty much want to kill myself now. This is gonna eat like 7 of my 9 minutes.
Aw. So the bottom end's changed a fair amount. I think Jaina has going to the bottom is like not too much of a surprise, but Gwen going that low I think has been to replace basically Midori and Gloria has been like the other big one.
Well,
I think you're the only one that has it that low.
Everyone here has her pretty low.
I know we all have her pretty low, but I also think that
Bomber has her 4th worst. Ju has her 5th worst.
Where's she on the consensus list?
let me grab it.
She might,
we all have her in bottom 5. It's just a matter of where. I just have her the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it?
I don't think she's the worst,
Found
but
it.
I think she by far has.
She's
the
16th.
Good job.
So still bottom
16.
5.
Yeah,
I
I think she has the least amount of usability in the game.
People kind of just paid homage to the fact that she has really fast attacks and they're scary, so she can throw, right?
Yep.
Just kind of just paid homage to that fact and put her around things. They like to hate on other things. And the fact that Gwen has never, throughout the course of this game's history, really gotten results has caught up with her.
Yep. I mean, Gwen had a period where Hooves was a god, and that was really about it. And he won like
Ultimate.
maybe one thing.
Ultimate did well for a while.
No,
and
Ultimate
for a
never
while.
did particularly well.
I saw him break top 5 a couple of times.
Yeah, but everybody has broken top 5 at least once or twice. We've
Yeah,
never.
even Malthug has broken top 5.
Oh yeah,
There was
Malthug-
once a time when Malthug was in IYL 1 Dreadlands finals, and then I ruined his life.
I miss you, Malthug!
Malthug, please come back to us.
He never truly recovered from that one, I think.
Nah, he was.
He just stopped playing the game, is what it was.
Yeah.
I think the most consistent character on the tier chart's actually been like Onimaru and Arg. They've always sort of hovered around the middle.
Yep.
They're both like pretty good characters, but they're not like amazingly good characters.
And I guess Lum's always been on like the lower end of top tier.
Yep. Lum has been pretty consistent, I think.
What I was gonna say though is where like how can you justify having Gwen above bottom 5 right now?
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can.
I don't see an argument for it.
Yeah, I don't think there is an argument.
Well, here's my next question. Where does the metagame shift from here? What's ahead of the curve? What's a sneak peek into the future?
Sneak peek in the future, huh? So
Onimaru. People are catching on to it already, but Onimaru.
I'm saying Onimaru because the metagame always shifts toward. It starts with like the option select for the top 2.
I also I will say right now, I called this in Troublesome Rhetoric episode 1.
You did. Yeah.
And I was like,
I was there.
calling it now. Onimaru is what's coming up next because he beats Zane, and it's not out yet. The secret's not out yet, but I'm putting it out on Troublesome
I
Rhetoric.
think we've always had him being Zane, but no one ever really explored the matchup.
Yeah.
He's always done well against Troc. The only time that Onimaru has not been considered, it'd be dumb to consider him important in the meta, is for the start when DeGray was fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
In a world where
Hey.
DeGray isn't everywhere, and you have some way of dealing with the fish, Oni is a ridiculously strong pick.
Yep. So a little bit of trivia as well. Before I felt a bit more comfortable playing the character, which was a little bit toward the end of last season. This is quick match seasons, by the way. I briefly considered playing Onimaru against Raziek in both of our sets.
For the record, you're the only one in this call who doesn't know I'm picking Onimaru in the character lock tournament.
Yay.
Good luck.
It'll be fun.
What I'll say about Onimaru is I would not be surprised if that man hits top 5 on the tier list.
Remember back when Clock Soldiers was better and we all had him in top 3?
Yes. When Clock
I do.
Soldiers was really good, he was very easily.
But
there.
what I will say is I think he could hit top 5, but I think that if that happens, you're going to see the grand and triumphant return of Jefferson DeGray.
Yeah.
I think that character, looking at where he's at now, I think Onimaru will peak. You can quote me as saying this. I think Onimaru will peak at around 8th. And that's about as high as I think he'll go.
I think he can go so much higher because of how I think that he could. I don't think that he'll end up. I think accurately, you might be right, but I think your scenario is where there are 2 things that can stop this man. I've been sitting here playing team draft, right? Me and Raz are still in this tournament. Jew, I think, is still in winners bracket.
I'm in winners finals.
And now I'm out, so that kind of sucks, but whatever.
I just dropped and got it out as well.
Yeah, I know Bomber failed. I had faith in you.
I dropped the game I should have won.
It's okay.
Hey, I did that a couple
Win it
times,
next
don't
time.
worry.
The thing is, I've been looking at Team Draft. Team Draft makes you examine the entire cast, right?
Yep.
And we've been having a lot of success with Vendetta BBB. So looking through that lens, I've come to realize just how terrifying Onimaru is. Like, we're a couple losses, a couple of combats away. Me and Raz were a couple combats away from being out of this tournament to Onimaru. He could have gotten out of hand if I hadn't managed to steal a win with Vendetta against Onimaru in our first game with Bomber and Redless. And we could have easily gone out against Mad King if we didn't shift to a throw heavy range with Grave.
I was too scared of hitting a button without a Joker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even then, like, throwing Onimaru is so scary. It's like if you don't have that safe button to fall back on, Onimaru is horrifying.
Because I think the first time you tried to throw me in that set, you got vivisected by 10.
I believe that was indeed the case.
The thing about Onimaru is, at the end of the day, unless you have one of those two buttons to hold back on, it's absolutely terrifying. What I think is going to hold him back is I think that eventually people are going to learn how to play that matchup. You're going to have people that aren't afraid to throw, and you'll get to a point where, I'm not there yet, people can recognize when Oni has final authority, when Oni doesn't, when it's okay to get hit with final authority, etc.
Yep.
So
I know for me, in my experience, because not only has Onimaru been identified as a potential problem character for me, he actually narrows a lot of the... If I think that somebody plays Onimaru, it kind of narrows the range of characters that I know I feel comfortable playing against him. And I've also used him since maybe about a year, I think now. I've kind of used him and put in the time. I also kind of ran through some people in teams with Onimaru as well. I still look at a fair amount of characters, and while they're not degrade levels of red flag, I still feel like there is, again, alternate game plans for some characters that are considered to loop to him. There are a small smattering of even matchups for that character that can give him some trouble as well. So, for me, I feel like Onimaru's flavor is a nice flavor, but eventually it'll kind of wear off.
Can I mention one other thing about Onimaru really quickly?
Go ahead.
I think one of the other things that makes him very good is a lot of the very sort of strong tactics that people play in this game outside, Mash Ace Dodge or bullshit or whatever, don't work against him. He is the best character at shutting down what I like to call sort of silly plays.
You mean, don't forget hashtag big supers.
Right. Oh, you're playing a high variant super meta? Onimaru is your guy.
That's why I think Vendetta is so good in team draft, is because he doesn't get frauded out by Big Super.
And then, like, for Onimaru, it's like things that I hate or that I'm forced to do sometimes, like, I'm going to play Flash Gear when you're knocked down. Because if it hits you, it's anti-cross-up normal. And Onimaru just says, I'm going to wake up anyway and I'm going to knock you down for it.
Yep.
So a couple more interesting questions. Oh, go ahead, you.
Go ahead and finish.
But, like, unless you have...
Mad King. Hush.
Boy.
Jesus Christ.
Down, boy.
But the matchups that I am going to kind of highlight for Onimaru that I think future Oni players or current Oni players or future meta players that I think people are going to want to watch out for that character. There is for a long time kind of a general consensus that Rook got like mopped up in that matchup. I think there is a lot of tech in that. Rook has a lot of health. He has a lot of ways to kind of deflect the general
25 times.
I think Gloria gives him some problems.
I agree.
Quince can give him some problems.
I think that's advantage Quince by a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Val kind of has some things that she can do. Obviously, Arya Garg is pretty strong against him. I think Lum is a underutilized character to deal with Onimaru. Obviously, is very strong. And I think Geiger Oni is very awkward for both parties.
I do too.
Yes.
I was talking about this with Raz when we were discussing our team draft selection. It's like Geiger Oni is weird, but nobody knows that matchup.
Yep.
Apparently, the
Okay.
princesses think that's like Geiger's worst matchup.
They're
I
insane.
disagree.
I think Slow Time Spiral is a card.
Yes, absolutely. Slow Time Spiral is a godsend.
I think
and I think-
Cycloid is the card.
Yeah, and I think
Time Spiral
I think
card.
Time Spiral Hurricane
Just
is a
dodging a
card.
40.
Yep. I also think that Grave Oni as Bummer and I kind of came to find out. Both of us felt pretty confident playing that matchup.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was feeling fine.
Yeah, and more or less, I didn't count dodges, and that's why I lost that
Give
matchup.
the slight edge to Onimaru in that matchup, honestly.
It's hard to call. I think it's flat even, but
I think it's
I would have
Oh.
to.
I will say during development, it was almost certainly Onimaru favored for like the vast majority of it.
Yeah. So if you double back with me and you kind of look at it, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, including Arg that destroys him. I think Val kind of has some tech. 5 with Geiger.
I think
With
Vendetta
Wall.
is very good against Onimaru.
Vendetta as well. That's 7. 8 with Grave. That's 8 characters that are kind of awkward for him to deal with. And they're all characters that kind of play the neutral game.
I think his biggest advantage right now is that people don't know.
And also that people are still playing Zane and Trock everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's not even to say where you see a lot of popular counter picks like DeGray and Arg, and you can kind of play him where
You're
you,
double dipping on Arg there. You put him on your 8, and then you're also putting him here.
well, those two matchups are considered the go-to counter picks for the character anyway,
Yeah.
Yes.
which was the point that I was making.
Okay.
But yeah. So in addition to those two characters, you still have 6 others where it's kind of messy and it's unfamiliar for a lot of people. But as you see Onimaru get a little bit more popular, maybe this team draft can actually showcase some of this. You'll really start to see that the grass isn't super green on the
I
Onimaru.
think that Persephone could be added to that list as well.
Persephone, I think, has some good tech for that character too.
But also only has 75 life. I've played that
Yeah,
match
it's really
actually
killing.
on both sides.
Yeah, it's really trying to kill him.
I'd put that one at 5-5.
But even then, that's 9
good.
if you really include her. So
Jaina?
I don't have enough info. I don't like playing either side of that matchup. So maybe that is also telling. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that as well. So I think there's more tech to be discovered with that, but Onimaru does need to be explored.
Speaking
Onimaru
of
is the thing people talk about when they say this character is just underexplored. I think there's a character as underexplored as Onimaru.
Yeah.
again, who's really representing him right now?
I mean, it used to be Negatin.
Now everybody.
Yeah, now you have a smattering of a lot of people.
A smattering of good players that want to see how the character works.
Redless,
And a couple of new people. Well, what I'm saying is you have a smattering of good players that want to see how he works, that are exploring the character right now, and you have some new players like Janorm running around or Michelle that are running around and playing the character.
As well?
And much like the Persephone hype train that rolled through the station recently, when you see that character, that uncommon character, it makes you think about that character, and you have more people going, you know what, I want to play that character.
Yep.
So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think it's also a little bit telling, although Neguten has been the type of player that wants to explore kind of undervalued characters. I think that the fact that he is still not quite falling back to Onimaru is pretty telling as well. I know he's pretty all or nothing when it comes to
Character selection.
picking new characters. I think it is relatively telling that he hasn't really been utilizing the character as much.
Well, I have two other questions I would like to ask before we finish.
Mhm.
My first one is there a brighter future for Lum?
I think
Or
Lum
is
will
this
basically
character-
stay where he is, which is the lower end of top tier.
Will he ever show up again?
Yes.
Do you think we'll be running into Lum? Will there be the Lum period where everyone's
Well,
playing him?
There may be if for instance, if the meta actually goes full circle and people start playing Onimaru and then people start playing Argagog.
Well, Arg beats Lum really badly. That's the thing.
I'm saying.
And then DeGray also has very good game against.
Well, no, sorry. If it goes a step further, if people start playing ARG and then people start trying to play grapplers to.
Well, then grapplers
face
would
off it.
beat ARG. So let's think what would happen, right? So ARG and DeGray both have very good game against Lum. They're probably the two best characters to pick against him, honestly.
Two of
the best, right? And if both of them start being played because of Onimaru, then that's not very good for Lum, right? So the characters that would have to be played more for Lum to really show up.
Vendetta.
Vendetta.
Please.
Although Redless choked really hard against Enemies today.
Trock. He does well. He does do well against Trock. He is one of the more underused counter picks to Big Dumb Bull. Honestly, Manelker Lum is a matchup that has not been looked at very hard.
Yeah, it's slightly Manelker favor by a tiny amount.
DSD is really kind of low.
I didn't really like playing it that much when I kind of went through my stint. I never really fully fleshed out my Manelker stint, but when I was toying around with him, it was one of the ones that I wasn't super comfortable with.
Honestly, I think the thing with Lum, and the reason I'd always keep him like lower end of top tier, is there's a meta where he's disfavored, which is lots of Argon to Gray for whatever reason. Maybe Onimaru's played a bunch. But then every other meta, he's just sort of just good. And he's just sort of just safe. And you just sort of can play him.
Yep.
But
nobody really gravitates to the Panda. That's the thing.
It's not like
they
V1
used
where
to
every
all
top
the
player
time.
Huh?
Except me. I hated that kid.
Every top player in V1 had a Lum.
Yep. Every single one.
Yeah, but like nobody like mains him is the thing.
No, but it's like you don't need to main him for him to be there. You just need to have a Lum and know how to set his stuff up.
If that's the case, in V1 there was a lot of reason to pick Lum. In V2, with 10 more characters and some significant changes, all of the places you would want to pick Lum, like I don't like the Grave Ditto, let me play Lum. You know?
Yeah.
That's gone. Why would you pick Lum there when you can pick any number of these other characters, right? There's a lot of, well, what I'm saying is there's a lot of variety, and Lum is not a very particularly safe pick right now because Fish and DeGray. DeGray got buff, and I think DeGray beat Lum in V1.
In this current meta, he's not that safe because I don't see a whole ton of Argon DeGray.
But what I'm saying is there innovation that could be made? I think the only thing that people are really missing with Lum is Pandemonium.
I think that Untillerman made one of the more important ones, which was, have you guys forgotten that Lum has good normals?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I hit you with a normal. Let me go into 3 more of them that all hurt, and let me get 2 aces and draw a card. And roll the dice. And maybe draw 3 more cards if I'm awesome.
If I'm awesome? Don't you mean lucky?
And I'm gonna get the ace back.
No, Untillerman is all skill.
But the so I was just curious what your thoughts were on the character. The other character that I'm curious your thoughts on is do you think there's brighter days ahead for Satsuki?
Yes.
I think that outside of Onimaru, she's the other character to move forward.
I think Onimaru beat Satsuki, so
I think
that matchup is even, I think.
I think you're crazy. I think it's 5-5-4-5 Onimaru, but I don't know.
Even the blow up.
Oh yeah, I do not think it's a blow up at all because you have a bajillion dodges and your sync lane is terrifying.
Yeah, I agree. But Onimaru can just accidentally kill your life bar in 4 combats.
Yeah, but there's like half the cast he can do that too.
I mean, the other thing in that matchup, is that his throws are actually kind of annoying for Setsuki because she has such low health.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And,
his throws actually almost seem threatening.
Yep. And the same as Brave is he can really just kind of wait on her to do things, and that is pretty dangerous. So
but for Setsuki, I think Onimaru is a counter pick. Who is her worst matchup?
Setsuki's chalk.
I still think it might be Grave.
I think that matchup's even, so maybe I'm completely crazy.
Is it Trock Midori, Onimaru, Grave, Quince?
I think Quince is even.
I don't think Satsuki Quince is even. I think it's slightly Quince favor.
I think it's 6-4 Quince.
I think it's
I
even.
don't think it's 6-4. I think it's 5.5.
I think it's even.
I will say that none of these matchups you're listing are things I don't think Setsuki can more than reasonably beat.
Yeah, I mean, she's like the Grave for the most part. She doesn't really lose very
Super
hard.
heavy.
She loses to I drew a really shitty hand off Speed of the Fox, and my opponent
Didn't successfully play, and then didn't successfully mask that fact.
Well, she loses to that, or she loses to hi, I'm playing against high health character and I can't kill you fast enough.
Or I got hit by high variant super.
Yes.
Or I got hit by the Grey Pilebongo.
I got hit by high variance move. It hurts.
Why didn't you acro that? Can we give Vendetta smoke bomb instead of acrobatics so that he can go to bottom tier, and then give Setsuki acrobatics so she can be the best character in the game?
No.
No.
No, Bomber's so offended. No.
Can we give Vendetta 2 truths?
Yes.
I don't know what we did. On his 2? Like.
Can we give Zane Chromatic Orb instead of Slipstream?
No.
Get
Yes.
out. And speaking of getting out, I am actually going to turn in. Thank you for having me for the recording, I guess.
No problem.
I will catch you guys later.
We give like 2 minutes.
He's tired.
I am very curious. Yomi's got an interesting place to go, but I think the meta shifts maybe twice more before it settles.
You reckon?
I think the meta pretty much always shifts because we have such a weird meta balance between the best characters.
I think when Grave gets a hold of the meta, it's gonna anchor it.
Drew, do you think Zane goes anywhere?
That's
I don't
up
think
to maybe.
I think he's going to be in top
something
5 for his whole life.
Think of it this way: we had a meta where like everyone and their mother was playing Troc and he didn't move. If less people played Troc, why the hell would he move?
What I'm gonna say is
Good point.
maybe a tier distinction emerges between him and Grave, if I'm correct in my assessment, right? If people explore all of the counterplay of Zane, maybe a tier distinction appears. I think your top 2 is rock solid.
Yeah, I would say that's correct.
Your plan A and plan B are so good that it's like really hard to
It's
move
like,
you.
I'm going to destroy you, or I'm going to anarchy you.
The only character in the game that answers both of them at the same time is Onimaru.
Grave.
I would say Grave does as well.
Wow.
Onimaru does more efficiently.
I think Grave is a better matchup against Zane than Onimaru, and 5-5 against Grave.
I would say Onimaru counterpicks Zane harder than Grave does.
Yeah, I think he does. Because he has so many answers to meaty.
You will
must
literally
play-
never hit Onimaru with a meaty unless
You
it's
must
like
play the
worst
anarchy
draw.
game to
Or
beat
unless he
Anarchy.
decided to block because he thought you would dodge.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
like
But
the Onimaru
that's, like,
player
so
has
rare.
to let you hit him with a meaty.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, you're just like, okay, I'm gonna Q, I'm gonna single ace, I'm gonna fucking wake up General's Armor, I'm gonna play literally any card in my hand
Final
back
Authority,
by Final
like-
Authority. It's like, oh, and when you're knocked down, Zane, here's this cross up 5. Play Jack or get hit.
Or Queen.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Play face card or die.
Or Crash Bomb.
Either way, he has so many rude,
I mean, he has to knock you down, though. He has one way to do it.
he has so many rude things he can do to you. He has answers to
That 3
everything
is really
Zane
mean
does.
to you.
He has 90 life, and he has 0.2 throws.
It's kind of like Zane
I think
Quince.
he's,
Quince has good
however,
buttons.
he is also a
Imagine if
Character
Queen's
that-
one block and also had a wake up against Zane, and that's the matchup.
yeah,
well,
pretty much.
He is a character that's very weak against dodges, playing against a man with a 50 damage super.
So I guess one other topic I want to broach, because this has sort of been a funny thing that's been happening. Where do you guys see Quince going, honestly?
I mean, I don't
Hovering
see him
around
going anywhere
eight.
super
Besides,
Hovering
like,
around-
best plus tier in team draft.
playing him.
Hovering between 8 and 12.
Yeah, I don't see him. I don't see him moving on the tier list. I think people are just starting to go, "Oh, Quince is a character that does things." Cool.
Why did it take people this long? I guess is my question.
Because you were playing him but you didn't play him in the crazy way. So
You didn't get noticed.
yeah,
You were known
That's
as the Quince guy. It's like
But you
it's like
didn't- that's all you were known as, just the Quince guy.
you didn't have a million other people taking notice of the character like LK. LK
And,
was
like,
the highest place in Gloria, but you had so many people pointing out LK. But you had so many Glorias around that it highlighted LK, right?
Oh my gosh, look at this. Okay.
With
He's
one
playing
quince around, even the most stellar results have to be repeated tenfold before you take notice. How long did it take people to notice Midori?
A long time. Clan Nishoy and Leontes had to both go through this character and win several tournaments, and people go, maybe this character's okay.
Was I the
Meanwhile-
one who got Zane noticed, or did it happen before that?
I thought it was
There weren't
kind of
Zane players.
It was.
Everyone
I mean, there were a few. Like, I
everyone
had
was
been-
like, his queen got nerfed. He must be bad.
Yeah, I do remember people saying that. But like, I
My
was
personal
playing
favorite,
Zane
and I
at the time.
don't feel bad
But I
calling him
wasn't-
out because he doesn't play anymore. Captain saying Zane cannot be a good character with his concept unless you give him at least 5 ranks of cards that knock him down, that knock people down.
5 ranks?
I was actually kind of thinking about that the other day.
5
I was sitting there and I was like, I'm imagining a world where Q's still knocked down. This character is bonkers.
the best
I
character
was like,
in the game. That's why
I was
I
like,
left.
how did I think that he needed both of
Bro.
those?
I spent forever, like I spent a long portion of Yomi development unable to talk to you.
I know, we've been through this 100 times, but like that's what like shocks me though, is like it's so clearly plain as day to me now. Why did I not see it then? Like
Because you
I
were
remember-
blind.
I remember talking to Garcia when they were talking about taking knockdown away from Q, and like one of the possible solutions that we were discussing was the nerf everybody wants to see, which is taking a couple damage off of J and Q, but keeping the
they did
knockdown
take-
on Q.
Which would still be dumb.
And it would, yeah, I like looking back at that, it's just kind of like whoa.
I mean, instead they gave Q a damage, right?
Huh? Yes. Yeah. They.
Instead they gave Q damage.
Yeah. They took.
At one point.
They took its knockdown away, but buffed it from 6 to 7.
Yeah.
Which it really didn't need. It could have been staying at 6.
It could have.
It
It's
could have, but
still
it was a, it was a
it's still
compensation thing.
Even then, it's still a very good linker.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
Like-
a linker.
Q
Not
is
here,
literally
not
the
links.
reason Zane became a character. Like
Yes.
when
Well-
they took away his throw knockdown, like okay, he was once a character that was a super obnoxious, brain dead character that was just like, I'm either gonna throw and vortex you forever, or I'm gonna play Crash Bomb and then do Crash Bomb 9J, 21 and knockdown.
Or I'll play this 9 when I knock you down from throw.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when Crash Bomb was a starter, I remember being told about that, but I wasn't there.
It
The
was
other thing
silly.
that Raz was a little upset that got changed.
Yeah, that's
Valerie?
another thing that I should not have been upset about. Oh my goodness. But
Oops, best reversal in the game.
either way, when that changed,
No, it wasn't the best reversal in the game. It was counterable.
when that changed and they took away his throw knockdown but gave him linker Q, his damage just went through the roof. And that was also the same time that they instituted media attacks, because he didn't have that before then.
Media attacks was, and they changed King.
Yeah.
There was a period where he had a knocking down linker Q, a starter King, but no media attacks.
Yeah. And then they added media attacks, and it was like, oh, okay, suddenly this character makes sense now. This character now has a game plan.
The problem is the character has a game plan. He's also like head and shoulders and like probably a bit of his nipple above everybody else.
Yeah. Speaking of which, have you seen him on the EX power-up box? He's like a head and a half taller than fucking the Grayson girls. He's tall on the box. I didn't expect him to be that tall.
He's actually about as tall as DeGray. He's pretty freaking tall.
Yeah. Like, I expected him to be like average height. No, the dude's tall.
You know what I was excited about going into V3? Or V3, going into V2?
Yeah.
Geiger went to the gym.
Yes.
I still like his old design better, honestly.
Geiger got ripped.
Speaking of which, R.I.P. old Valerie. Worst nerf she ever received. Worse than Burst.
She didn't even look
Where
that
she's
good.
no longer wearing a canvas.
What was up with that dress, man? You can't like try and claim that
it was
dress
the
as-
face nerf, Bomber. The face nerf.
Oh well, yeah, all right. Okay, I'll give you that one.
If you give her the old face and keep the rest of her, and like give her the old face and keep the rest of the change, it's probably fine.
Yes,
Like, her
that's all you would have to do
clothes
is give her a normal looking face again. Now she's just kind of like, huh?
You can also fix Graves' hand.
I mean,
Well, his hand looked kind of silly in V1, and they just went, extra silly?
I think the rest of it looks fine. I think his face looks a
We
lot.
need to emphasize this hand.
Grave needs an extreme...
on the whole, I like the art upgrades. Like,
Grave
most
needs
of them
an
look
extremely large hand to remind you of just how gorilla his damage is when he hits you with teapots.
slippery.
The pimp smack.
He's like,
Can we-
look at this hand! It's doing
Yeah.
a billion.
Yo, can we just swap Grave and Vendetta's aces?
Get the
No.
fuck out!
Please leave.
Vendetta
want
2
Also, Riker, please leave.
49!
Yeah, side note, Riker, please leave.
Yeah. So,
One last thing, I think
it'd be like,
the last thing.
you know what would happen? You could kidney shot into True Power and Storm.
I didn't even realize.
So, I guess the last character I want to mention, because this has been the character I think that's had the most interest to me of anyone in the cast. And I don't think anyone will know who it is until I mention it, but it's the robot.
Nobody likes the robot.
I mean,
Do you remember that day
anyone
when
who,
I was
anyone who
mashing
says
Q1
they
with
like the
robot?
robot is actually a secret masochist.
see,
Do you remember?
here's the thing with the robot. The robot was a challenge in working within design space. It's like, how can we make this character that accurately simulates the concept we are trying to get across without making him ridiculously difficult to understand,
Or
Also ridiculously broken.
and also without making him ridiculously broken? And honestly, given the difficulty of working with that design, I think the power level that they hit with him is where he should be. Because he's playable, he's kind of weak, but, like, if that character
Really
was...
meta with strong BB.
Yeah, if that character was everywhere, people would not want to play this game.
I think he might
Yeah.
be better. I think he might be better than freaking Gwen and Persephone.
You don't want to see the world where we see a bunch of BB mirrors, which is like Bizarro World Yomi?
No.
It's like
That's what
end
people are
of the
trying
day-
to do now, and I'm like, I hate this character. Take him
End
away.
of the day, I've just seen BBB beat his counter picks left and right when the BBB player plays it. He also loses. Like, he just loses to people he should beat. But I've just seen BBB.
I would have been interested in playing the BB
Come out of
matchup
nowhere.
in Team Draft today. Would have been fun.
I was interested in playing BBB Geiger, but it didn't get to that point. I was gonna play
played
Manelker
that today,
before you
I
get.
won.
I was gonna play Manelker before you get your feet out from under you, and then you were gonna have to beat Gloria.
Yep.
I'm not scared of that matchup as much either. I agree with you that it's bad, but I'm not scared of it. Because Cycloid's still a card.
Cycloid is a card. I beat Bob in FFF by bluffing Cycloid and throwing.
But yeah, I think the robot has a bit of room to go up. Not a ton, but I think he has a bit.
I think
Just
that-
on the strength of his advantage state.
I think that the big thing that people don't recognize is, I mean, I like Robot. I've been putting a lot of time into Robot. I am willing to pick Robot way more often than I'm willing to pick Persephone.
Hey, it's because Persephone's.
Like, I think he's more likely to steal game, like to steal a set than Persephone is, in my opinion.
In fact, actually, I think the comparison between BB and Persephone is an interesting one because they both tend to put the opponent at disadvantage time and then say, now guess this mix-up where my options beat two of your options.
The difference being that BB doesn't take damage in his.
Yeah, that's the big difference, is that when you
And
guess wrong as
also
BB,
starts 5 life
you go
higher.
out and you don't take any damage. When you guess wrong as Persephone, you might just take 20 damage.
Also, when you're BB, they literally can't play one of their options.
And
Yeah.
don't forget
Exactly.
the part where when BBB gets out of his advantage state, he starts whirring and sparking, and then there's just pistons everywhere.
Oh!
Or he K throws you and you go right back to range.
Piston Hurricane is like the card that...
isn't it, Bomber?
Are people just finally noticing that BB's aces are just really stupidly good?
I mean, 0.2 speed, 21 damage.
Both sides of it.
Yeah, it's
He needed the 0.2 change.
yeah.
Yes. That was
Like, I
horrible way
remember
to
that
have
change. Some people were like, no, this change shouldn't happen. I'm like, no, he needs this change.
Okay, welcome to the ARC matchup when you couldn't clash Piston with Blowfish spikes.
Blech.
That was terrible. That was like barely even a matchup. That was a matchup if you landed K-throw 9 times.
For the record, making vomiting noises is one of my favorite parts of discussing game design. When you get to talk about things that just make you want to vomit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So back when BB couldn't beat Persephone's Ace with his Ace.
Oh god, that poor robot.
Knock down the whips, please.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think he has room to go up a bit. I think that although at the highest I would put him at the top of bottom 5, I think he can go up.
yeah, I think they hit a good sweet spot for where he should be, honestly. Like, you could maybe buff him a tiny bit, but you'd have to be really careful like how you tweak that dial.
I think the most broken buff you could give him would be giving him more health. Like, any more health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why
85 health is like Midori Gloria tier or higher.
The way I would be trying to, the way I would describe trying to buff BBB, is like when you're in the shower and you're trying to make it just a little bit hotter, but suddenly you're in a volcano.
I like Volcano Challenge for what that's worth.
You're weird.
I am.
But yeah,
think
like
the best
that's
you
what
do
it's like
is-
to adjust him, because it's like, okay, we're almost there. We need just a little warmer. We need just a little warmer. Oh, my skin!
and then someone flushed the toilet.
And then
see-
Big B suddenly.
Yeah, and then BBB is suddenly everywhere, destroying everyone's hopes and dreams, but still losing.
And
some
mothers.
I think the one change we can all come agree with is his king should probably stay in his hand if he gets range with it.
Absolutely, he needs.
I
that.
agree.
But like that's so weird to put on his character card without adding more words.
No, you
You
just
could
put it on his king.
You
If
could-
this card sets range, return it to your hand.
If you win combat with this card,
If you hit with it,
No, it's
I'm
not.
king.
Yeah, it's set up where the 9 ability is what allows you to get it out of dodge. So it's like if you win combat with this. Oh no, it's not because they wouldn't review
Extends or
return
grab sets
that.
range even if it hits after a dodge and returns to your hand if it hits.
If you win with this card, it sets range, and if this card
if
does
you
not
win combat, this card deals damage.
No, you put on the 9. Extends or grab king, sets range and returns to BB's hand even if it hits after a dodge. Done.
I mean,
Oh well, that's only on overdrive though.
That's fine.
you're gonna add even more words to overdrive, champ.
But it,
That's not that many.
it needs to
Yep.
return to his hand when he plays it as a neutral option as well. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I guess what I would like to see is his normals return to his hand if he sets range with them, honestly.
I don't.
No,
It'd be funny.
There's a
He
reason
doesn't
to.
need
Yeah, he
more
doesn't
ways
need
to get
that.
cards into his hand.
like all that
Like-
does is make his advantage state worse, or like
Like the matchups that he wins by spamming normals get even worse.
yeah,
in
that's
that
what I mean.
scenario.
Is it like it only
Like,
snowballs the ones he
grapplers
already wins?
Cry. Grapplers literally start shedding tears of blood.
If you want, you can make it so that the face card return starts on the turn where he's hit you with a normal, or like the turn he sets range.
But
so
then
that way
he gets to
doesn't-
hit you with Q++, which we don't want.
It's
Yeah, because
really
it-
funky to make it like a decent wording change without obscuring the art on King, which has very good art on it,
Does
I agree.
Lovely art.
and without adding words to his innate to make it like a really clunky interaction with one card.
It always disappoints me that Ghost Riposte has so much text on it because it just.
Or Great Pandemonium.
1 second. Let me look at BBB's.
His character card is very full of words.
I know. I'm just looking to see if I can make a small tweak somewhere that it would work. Because I think if I'm remembering the wording correctly, there might be one I can do.
This is like playing with This is one of the few times where Yomi feels like Puzzle Strike in that you have such a limited space to work with.
You could add
Like
9
with-
words and
with
just say at the
changes.
end, if it sets range, return it to your hand.
Let me see.
One of the other problems he sort of has is that anyone who has enough dodges also makes him really upset with life.
Not
Hi.
really. The Grey kind of makes him
I
upset.
mean, because he has to set range with King, then he loses the King.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you also have to hurt BBB at some point. If BBB finds range against that character, it's not that big a deal. If you're gonna be dodging at range, I'm gonna block, and you're gonna be like,
Or you play King.
Then you. Well, that's the thing is, they're gonna block at range when I think you're gonna dodge. It's gonna incentivize you to go block with me, which opens up you to King because that's what you're thinking is how you're gonna get out of range.
Yum yum.
Tasty.
Yeah, I can't think of a way to just shove a couple words in that would fix
You
it.
see what I mean? Because the way it's worded, it's like
Yeah.
and it took a lot of work to get to that wording, which is about as clear as you can make the mechanic.
Yeah, I was gonna try to insert it in the first sentence where it says, like, when your range moves are blocked or win combat, set combat to range next turn. At range, blah, blah, blah. I would try to insert it there and say, like, set combat to range next turn, and return that card to your hand if it was a face card.
But there's only one face card.
Yeah.
And return it to your hand if it was a king, I guess. But, that's a little explicit.
I think it definitely needs to go on the King because isn't the King?
Well, yeah, but we don't want to cover the king art. That's the problem.
Well, how big is the text already?
There's no text on
Look
king
at the character
currently.
card.
There's no text on King at all.
None.
None.
It's just the button.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's just a button.
Like, that's the problem.
You
We
might-
don't want to stick text on there. It doesn't have an ability.
Yep.
It just
Right,
has
you need to give it
has little help text that says when this wins combat, set range next turn.
Which is why I say, like, if you want to make the change for elegance, you could just throw it so it only returns to your hand if you played off 9, which is still an improvement.
Yeah, but that's half-assed in the solution.
Yeah.
Because the
Although it is a
solution is
nice
you
test
want
drive
to
for the solution.
you want to reward BBB for being like balls out, extensive grab, let's go. Woo! But then it just goes into his discard, and he's like, oh, now what? I
Now
guess
I
I
gotta draw
jump
another
shot.
one.
I guess I jump
Would you
shot
be a
them.
fan of making it 8.4, by the way?
Yeah, I don't think it needs a speed.
It depends on
change.
how bad you think his grave
No.
matchup is, because that's like the only matchup I
It
can
depends how bad you think his Grave, his Gwen, his Persephone, his...
Jaina. Jaina's pretty bad.
Yeah, Jaina.
I mean, I guess you could, and it probably wouldn't ruin everything, but, like, again, that's
It
a dial
affects
I would
quite
be
a few
very
matchups.
careful with adjusting.
I don't think it would break him, but I think he's fine as 8.6.
Also, just for the record, since we didn't get to go through the Blaze Rufus contract all the way to BBB, I'm going to go listen to Active Angel 2.
So, I think we can probably wrap up here unless you have any other points you want to add.
The thing about Yomi that I really love, as far as the Yomi metagame goes, is that it's defeatable. And for that reason, I think the metagame will always shift. There will be the tier 2 picks that are always there. However, I do think that we're nearing the end of the top end. I think Yomi's going to settle soon. I think for the most part, we're going to end up in a game that is colored by Grave and Zane. And I think that a metagame could become Zane unfriendly enough that Zane would not be the top tier character. But with Graves sitting there anchoring it, and Zane having a passable matchup with Grave, what are you picking to Grave right now?
Arg.
Fish?
I don't
The
pick Fish in
grapplers?
the Grave, no. I pick Quinn to the Grave.
Quince.
Early.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm picking. So I picked against Area F anyway. I'm not
Possibly
sure if
only
I'm
And
going to.
sometimes I pick Drock in the Grave.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
End of
pick
the
Grave
day,
with the Drock. Like,
end of the day, most of everything you're going to pick into Grave is what you're already picking into Zane, and it hasn't run him out of the building yet. You know,
Yep.
Thanks for the fish.
unless Onimaru runs Grave or runs Zane out of the top tier, right?
I don't think so.
Then
Seems unlikely.
that's where you're going to be, you know? And I can't see the Onimaru matchup coming out in the end much different than the Midori matchup. Correct me if I'm wrong, Raz.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, I don't know what you're getting at.
Those
here.
seem pretty different.
What is your objective in the
I don't
Onimaru
think
in the Midori matchup?
The
'Cause you
Midori
told me this
matchup
once
is
before.
knock him down and kill him before he goes Dragon form. You
Yeah,
can't do that
that's
to
very
fucking Onimaru.
That's my strategy in that matchup.
You
too,
can't
and it
knock him
works.
down. You can't knock him down, but you do have the combat options to rush at him.
Like you rush him with 5 throw.
Without getting
And
touched.
rush- attack.
You rush him with 6 attack. Like you hit the man for 30 damage twice, and then he's like, "Ooh."
Yeah, that's
And
exactly.
then hopefully your hand didn't totally just take a shit on you and you don't just...
You have shenanigans. You'll be fine. You can get 2 more combats.
I know. I believe you mean you have shenanigans. You'll mill Joker 4. That's what always happens to me.
I'm pretty sure
Someone
Thelo's
that
just
you
out to
res.
get. I'm pretty sure Thelo's just out to get you. He gave me an ace when I needed it most.
I swear he has an
Shenanigans.
algorithm in place for me. Like,
You have the best Zane results and the worst Zane mills I've ever seen.
yeah, and the fact that those things have occurred simultaneously is incredible. Because that means I'm getting the best results playing with a handicap.
Raz, do you have closing thoughts?
I get 0.5 Jokers a game and still beat almost everybody. Get on my level.
Damn. Bodied. Bomber.
Wait, can we play with 1 damage jokers, by the way?
No.
Please?
No.
If you want me to have 1 damage jokers with Quince, by all means.
I want me to have 1 damage jokers with Quince.
What is a 1 damage Joker?
He's talking about having Jokers deal 1 damage so Quince can positive spin out of his fucking gold burst.
Oh, please. Get out of here.
Bomber, as our resident tier,
Oh, yeah.
have any closing thoughts?
Yes, I do actually. Which is relevant to Tier Horde. Even before you said that. One of the things I really like about Yomi, as even like in a meta sense, is that you still have people running around with low tier characters, but they're character specialists, and so people like me, who is a counter picker, without shame, I counter pick you.
Duty
Deal
counter
with it.
picker.
I love it. It's my jam because I'm not good enough with any single character.
Exactly.
Because I get bored with playing any single character. Like, I'm not like Raziek, and I'm not like LK, and I'm not like Leontes. I can't do that. So I counterpick. But I think the wonderful thing about Yomi is that there are people who can just play 1 character, and it doesn't matter if you counterpick them. They're just like, I'm just going to play my bad matchup. I don't even care.
I will
Kasumi
point
as
out
well.
that your people that are winning doing that are all looking at quitting it unless they play super top tier. You look at Leontes has talked a lot that he thinks he can't do Geiger.
Because he lost to my terrible Geiger.
LK switched off for Zane. And I think those 2 are the big ones. Enemus has been dead and gone.
I will also add that I fall strictly into Riker's camp of can only do it if they are playing super top tier, because I've just decided to duff Trock in the nose and just deal with it.
Well, you have Anarchy. You can do that. What I'm saying is, where are your character specialists, Bomber? Nowadays.
Well, I mean,
They're not-
they're still around.
but are they winning?
Well, sometimes.
Leontes won Yomi Bowl. Like, that cannot be discounted.
What I'm saying
like-
though is, your Leontes is the crowning champion of character specialists. Has said that he is done playing Midori Geiger.
But that's 1 matchup out of 20, says even
Yeah.
all the rest of Midori's bad matchups, he'll still play Midori.
Yeah, he did say that.
I'm just pointing it out. I'm saying that.
I mean, yeah,
that
I
it's not
agree.
there anymore.
But he's beaten Midori Geiger before, like.
Not in a long time.
I mean, yeah, not to experience.
He beat
sure.
Ball like almost a year ago now. I think he lost to me, lost to Mad King, counterpicked Southpaw.
I think it's the one time the entire Yomi Bowl season he did not pick Midori, and that was just...
Hey, he didn't win Yomi Bowl as a solo character main. We did it, boys. Point proven.
I stayed Zane, but could have counterpicked, but it's because I just like Zane better, and I'm more comfortable on him. So.
Yep. No, I mean, what I'm saying is, outside of Leontes, LK404, and Enemus, where are your character specialists
Well, Kasumi is a character
that are winning?
Oh well. All right.
Kasumi lives on like another planet called Japan that has weird time zones.
And moon runes?
And she works shift work.
Yes, she works
I love
shift work.
Kasumi to death.
You're forgetting Hartley
Kasumi's
on
my
our character
favorite
list.
person on the forums.
You're forgetting Hartley.
Yeah, Hartley does exist.
No, Hartley does exist.
Hartley's first tournament was finishing 4th with one character.
I forgot Hartley. That's
yeah,
true.
but that's
See where Hartley
that's
goes.
fourth though, not first.
Yeah.
First tournament, I'm sorry that he did not win
First
the
tournament.
tournament.
Better than
We'll
I
see
did in
where
my
he goes.
first tournament.
He lost
also-
second and third. How awful.
He's also an incredibly small sample size.
Okay, I'm just saying he is there.
That's fine. That's right. I give you that. That's a fair point. But I argue with this a lot. I like to point out is somebody ticked me off in one of those threads, and I think Leonte's taboo thread, right? I think it was Kratos, which I hold no ill will towards, but he said something along the lines of, "You can just play matchups and get better at them," and I'm like, "No, you can't."
Well, I mean, yeah, discounting Dark Riker. Yeah, Riker used to be.
There's a line. I used to be a character specialist, and I didn't win shit. I got put out by
Fra Arolo is a character specialist, and he's doing his best.
He's doing his best, but he ain't won shit yet.
5 might. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, he's also a
5
character
is
specialist.
5 is playing, I think, top 3 best solo mains in the game.
Okay, but he is still there.
Well, what I'm saying is you can't do it without playing top tier. And I think Setsuki is very close. The only thing that keeps Setsuki from being the 3rd best character in the game on my list and in that tier is the fact that eventually over the course of a tournament, if you're trying to play and win something as big as FFFF that just finished, right?
Good tournament that was.
I wonder who ran that.
Someone really cool, I reckon.
I bet.
Yeah.
And probably not the least bit Australian.
I doubt it. No, Australians aren't.
But
Fucking Australians.
the thing is, I just think that if you're trying to win that many games in a row, your low life will end your run. I think as far as character power level goes, even average character power level goes, Setsuki is a top tier character. But when you talk about, I think average power level, Setsuki's a top tier character. But when you get something that's bad, it can be nigh unwinnable. You know? So
I think my closing thoughts, if I had to give any, I think that my tier list is probably the most bizarre of anyone's, right? I think I had the most differences in it compared to other people.
Yeah.
Right? I think my tier list has also, I think, fluctuated the most of anyone besides like Deluxe or something since the game has started, and I think it's going to continue to do that. I had Valerie at one point as number 19 or number 20, I think. Like,
And then you started praising her, just like she's so good.
Yeah, it just happened, right? And now,
good.
and I have.
I remember it was about 4 months ago. You were just like, I think Valerie's basically like in the top 10. I'm like, what?
I have her in top 10 on mine. I have her tied. I have like 8 or 9. Like, she's pretty damn high up on my list.
Better than top 5 where you had her before.
I didn't have her in top 5. I said she might get to top 5. There's a difference, right? I think
Which
that
is not Persephone. I'm still waiting for that to hit bottom tier.
I don't think it's going to. I think like, let's
Persephone's
say,
not a good
the lowest I'll be comfortable putting Persephone is like Gloria Midori tier.
I think that's generous.
I agree.
But like, I feel like the only constants in my tier list have been Graven and Elker in top 3. I think that's going to stick around as long as the game goes. I think that if you don't have a big super or otherwise some other big silly thing,
Your gray damage.
DeGray is a thing of himself, right? Geiger damage when he has a 4-up, right? Lum damage that he doesn't actually have to do anything for, right?
Hi.
My top characters. Graves, Zane, and Elker is like variant super tier. And then you have Trock, variant super. Geiger, DeGray, oops, I hit you and your life bar vanished. And Lum, I don't have big variant super, even though technically I have a true power of Panda on my aces. but it doesn't matter because half your life bar you can tick off unless you kill me very quickly.
I think Setsuki's the only character that I think is good. I've talked about this before. I think Setsuki's the only character I think that is a top level character without oops.
And keep in mind, I think I might be the only player who like does reasonably well. I won't say a top player, a player who does well that doesn't hate high variant supers. I might be the only one.
I don't hate them.
Hey, I don't hate them.
Raz doesn't hate them.
I was gonna say they're annoying sometimes.
Raz would still be in favor of nerfing them. I would not.
Oh.
I mean, I've reached top 8 in like the last few tournaments I've entered, and I don't hate high variants.
Well,
Like,
because
that's
you played
just,
Minoka, Shock, and Zane for them.
I'm Bomber. I play Minoka Grip and I play the Zane. I'm gonna press the button. Pardon me, here's my high variant super.
And I play Grave, don't forget.
So
High variant super. That's it, Grave. I said I play Trot, Grave, Minoka. I press the button, Zane. I press the button, and Nucky Boots. Woohoo!
So, like, the other characters, like, I guess you would think it's weird that I have Gwen solo on my list because, you know, she has the big gorilla damage out of nowhere. But
I like gorilla damage.
you have gorilla off of one card. That's my problem with it. When you're DeGray or Geiger, who have, like, the gorilla damage without the gorilla super, you have gorilla damage off pretty much anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that damage is finally starting to get its due a bit more. I think that people are starting to get better at hand management. I think people are realizing that throws are still really good in this game. Surprise. And I will say my biggest problem transitioning from V1, because in V1 I was like the guy who always finished second or third whenever I entered tournaments.
Hey, join the club. I know that life.
I'm the guy who's finished second in one tournament and like pieced out early of everything else. And my biggest struggle has been that hand management fundamentals have changed a lot and that people are better at damage conversion. The one thing I was better at in V1 than anyone else was damage conversion when I knew my hand wanted it. And now people are starting to get more efficient at doing that and realizing how thin they can stretch their resources before it's a problem. I think as people get better at that, you're going to see a much tighter balance between playing for your resources and playing for damage than you did in V1. Which I think is the biggest improvement this game has had. There's no incentive to just play block 1,000 times, even though that was probably wrong. People would still do it.
I think the funny thing is that you say that and you still never did that with Quince. You would still always go for these safe options and like not play your queen and pump it on like low cards.
I mean, that's when you see like.
Well, he was just talking about how his biggest problem was adjusting.
Oh yeah, and if you see when I did well in Summer Smash, it's because I was willing to drop my hand pretty low just to get that damage out of that read.
Well, I mean, me and Dan have been talking to him about it, talking about how, I mean, I think he was salty was the reason he said it, but he asked me, is that what I've been doing wrong with Quince all this time? Just ignore playing for resources when we were playing, like, yesterday morning? And I'm like, yes!
The deck will deliver you.
I still think of Quince as like a resource character at the end of the day because of his 2, right? And because he has situations he can set up with his king that are just like, oh, you didn't have the correct thing now, so you just die.
There's things that I don't see you do. You play. I see you playing for late game with king, which is great, except for the fact that if you get to late game with king when they don't have it, and you've just run them out of answers, it means you got to late game with that king. Better hope that they don't swing into you Joker and then have their late game. Whereas I'm doing things like super suboptimal setups. I'm playing
Shuck against me. I was upset you played the Shuck against me.
The what?
Secretly horrible and losable combat.
I played that specifically because it would upset you.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Throw Joker.
Joker dodge Patriot. Sorry, Joker throw Patriot Mirror. It's so bad.
When did you do that?
So bad.
Yesterday morning.
Because he's a dick and he hates
But
me.
what about when I told you to do that because it was the correct answer?
You should have the setup I've been exploring a lot that I don't see you do very often. I say very often because I can't recall you doing it at all. And I don't want to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Is I go to low cards. I go to 5 cards and then I play my kings out. I hit you and then I play positive spin jack. Once you're knocked down, and call flagstone tax on blocks.
And then dodge into spin into attack.
Generally, I throw. I'm trying to continue my. It depends. I either throw or I play the jack. And I'm like, give me
My
a card.
problem is that people I play against tend to get so nutty with their buttons that if I try to throw, I'll get hit. If you try to throw, somehow they think you'll play the J. I don't understand this.
Migo.
You get anarchy.
That is what happens. I'll be like, I'm not going to play the J this turn. Maximum Anarchy. I'm like, fuck off. I showed a J at you. Leave that shit at home.
What's up, Mad King?
Really.
Oh my god. That was so
Anarchy.
I saw that against Merciful Fate. That was so unfortunate.
I guess my final point, is just the reiteration that I think the fundamentals have changed. I think that having good V1 fundamentals is still good. I think people have finally optimized how they should have been playing V1 into V2 because the system changes, and that's like one of the things I really like about the current state of the game. And I'm really interested to see what characters end up like shuffling through that morass of mid tier as a result.
Guys, did this just become episode 2 of Troublesome Rhetoric?
We did a better job.
Let's
be real.
Everybody knows that the Illuminati has the finest minds.
Thank you Roundtable host, by the way. I do appreciate it. I've been actually trying to find an excuse to get this together for a long time, and I'm glad we just sort of had happen.
Yeah, it just kind of transitioned out of the team set, so I mean,
I walked into this call because I saw in the chat, hey, I'd like to talk about these sets. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to listen to high tier people talk about sets.
That's like the highest opinion I've heard someone have of me. Thank you. Unless you're talking about specifically Razik and Riker, in which case.
Oh, it was like you and Razrak. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to listen to this.
I mean that's
So I was
second
just,
and
like, playing
third
League
in,
and listening
in
again.
Bombers tournament, so
Yeah, I mean,
hashtag DRB.
good players.
I'm currently undefeated in IYL. I'm 1-0, baby.
I think
Yeah.
I am
also
immediately
one
lost
vote.
my undefeated streak to fucking Quinn.
I went 3-0. Sorry. Yeah, how's Quince right now? Is he a good character? I've heard.
He's serving me pretty well.
I'm so salty about that. God damn it.
Raz,
I
you
saw
just-
that room the other day that was like, it's like playing against Migo, lose, lose, lose.
Yeah, yeah, that's because I was concede botting versus Quince. Like I picked him as the CPU and just went to work. That's what I do at this point. I just go to work and turn on the click bot. Don't do it.
Why do
kids.
you hate Flagstone?
I'm I don't know. I feel so bad about embellishing packs, but I mean they're not gonna put out a statement on it, so I guess I'll just do that until they do.
I don't think Serlin's aware of it.
He has to be. There's no way he doesn't.
Well, I mean, Tello surely is, but like maybe he just does. Serlin even go on the server?
Serlin was on the server earlier tonight.
No, he was. I think it was someone whose Steam name was Serlin.
I saw someone called Serlin 2, but that is not Serlin.
I mean, that just would mean he was on the Steam version.
Anyway, thanks again for hosting this, by the way.
Yep. I will. Yes, I will end the recording here. Thank you for watching, people on the YouTubes. This has been impromptu DRB roundtable discussion featuring
Better than
Raziak,
Troublesome Rhetoric?
Riker, Bomber678, Mad King, and the now absent but was here earlier Jushichi.
Here in spirit.
Thank you for watching, and we
Let
will
us know
see
if you want more.
We will see you the
guess
next
we
time
can
we
do
do
that.
things. Anyway,
That's when we
Fine.
play our next Team Trap set, right?
yeah, exactly, of course.
Yeah?
All right, stop recording
know.
button. Pressing it now.